And there you go, folks. We have 30 minutes to go until the half marathon, the Kolay İstanbul Half Marathon. The 16th edition of this race will have close to 60 elite racers, elite runners, about 35 in the men's and more than 20 in the women's. So stay tuned, and at the top of the hour, we'll be back with you. Thank you.
Saatla devam ediyoruz. Bravo. Son bir kez daha. Şimdi squat'a indik. Eller ayaklarda. Tekrar indik ve kalktık. Bravo. Son bir kez daha. Sol ve sağ bacağı tekme atar gibi ileri uzatıyoruz. Bravo. Evet, son kez. Süpersiniz. Şimdi sol bacağı attık. Sağ bacak arkada. Hafif öne doğru. Var. Sol elimizi koyduk. Sağa doğru açıyoruz. Evet, ayak bir. Süper. Arka topuk havada. Öne doğru kendimizi biraz bırakıyoruz. Elimizi koyduk. Sola doğru açıldık. Tekrar bıraktık. Evet, şimdi hızlı bir şekilde bacakları çek. Allah. Şimdi arkada. Ve tam tersi. Sağ el belde, sol elle sağ tarafı. Omurgayla bu sefer arka ayak kırık, hafif indi ve yavaşça kalkıyor. Bravo. Son bir kez daha. Şimdi de ayak değiş. Arkada. Tekrar. Hiç bozma, arka ayağı düşür ve ön ayağına doğru hafifçe eğil. Evet, esvesini indir. Evet, ayak değiş. Öndesi, arka ayağını düşür, öne doğru hafif eğildin. Dik bir omurgayla. Early morning, I told you before just to say if you like me or not. Yavaşça kalktık. Tekrar olduğumuz yerde küçük bir jog. Şimdi jumping jack'le devam ediyoruz. Çapraz. Sağ, sol. Allah. Son bir kez daha. Evet. Sağ kolu aldık. Yukarıda. İyice çek. Diğer taraf. Evet. Çevir kolları öne, omuzlarla beraber. Geriye. Son kez bir öne doğru eğiliyoruz. Ve silikler
20 minutes to go until the Kolay İstanbul Half Marathon. The 2021 edition is set to be a little more smaller than previous years because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But as you can see, people are getting ready, trying to stretch their limbs out just before the race. 20 minutes to go, like I said, and it's going to be exciting times once the elite athletes get on the road. 20 minutes and counting. Keep watching.
Hepinize başarılar diliyorum.
less than 10 minutes to go for the Kolay İstanbul Half Marathon. As you can see, people are lining up, getting ready with about 9 minutes left. People with shirts, their messages that they want to be heard, seen. People piling up right here, as you can see. People from all walks of life. And in about 10 minutes time, or 5 minutes time, we'll start our broadcast of the 16th Istanbul Half Marathon. Stay tuned.
Lütfen dikkat, sayın basın mensuplarımız 20 startının tamamlanmasının ardından şu anda 100 metre yarışması startımızı yine basın aracımız yarışlarınızı takip etmeniz için sizi bekliyor olacak. 21K startından hemen sonra basın aracımızla koşucularımızı takip edebileceğinizi sizlere hatırlatmak istiyoruz. Evet, dakikalar sonra elit atletlerimizle dünyaca sporcular start box'ında yerlerini alacaklar. Hemen parkur hakkında genel bir bilgi verelim. 21K'da koşacak olan Kolay İstanbul Yarı Maratonu 2021'in katılımcıları parkuru boyunca mavi renkli çizgiyi takip edecekler. Başlama noktamız yine Fatih ilçesi Yenikapı miting alanı önü. Buradan start alan yarış sahil yolu Kennedy Caddesi boyunca Kumkapı Can Kurtaran, Çatladı Kapı, Sarayburnu Sirkeci Işıklar ve Eminönü'nden Karaköy istikametine saparak Galata Köprüsü'ne geçecek. Köprü bitimindeki ışıklardan U dönüşü yapan parkur, Eminönü Unkapanı, Cibali, Abdülezer Paşa Caddesi Ayvansaray Haliç Köprüsü'ne varmadan Fatih ilçe sınırından U dönüşü yaparak ters istikamette aynı sahil yolunu kullanarak Yeni Kapı'ya kadar koşulacak ve şu anda başlayacağımız start noktasında son bulacak.
Hello and welcome to the 2021 edition of the Istanbul Half Marathon. Out of hundreds of half marathons held throughout the year, this one here is an event and experience without equal. And now, with less than 5 minutes to go, we're expecting the race to start here at the Kolay İstanbul Half Marathon. In less than 5 minutes' time, thousands of people from all walks of life will begin their 21-kilometer journey, and they'll share the road with some of the greatest athletes in the world. As you can see, on the women's side, you have Bridget Koske, Yasemin Can, Ruth Çepengetic, Yalam Zerf Yehulal, Fatma Arık, Ayla Said Mohammed, Bushra Nur Koku, Melat Kajeta, and others to look forward to. And on the women's side, we continue with the names Stella Ruto, Huwot Gebrekidan, Bekele Kudeta, Daisy Kemeli, Sofia Yaremchuk, Helen Obiri, and the Turkish athletes Esma Aydemir, and so on. And on the men's, we have two big names, Kibuwot Kandi and Jeffrey Kamawar, to look forward to. You have Amdawar Kwalalain, the former winner and track record holder, and many other names. And we'll continue at the bottom with the Turkish names to look forward to. Murat Emektar, Cesar Karatekin, Deniz Aydoğan, Emre Akın, Can Yalaman, and Ali Arslan. Now, if we can go to the start-finish line after seeing these names also as the elite athletes. The big names are going in front. As you can see on the left-hand side, they're lining up in front. Now, we mentioned this in the pre-race preparations. There will be different starts for different categories. The elite racers the elite runners, in fact, will start in front of everyone. But after that, the other runners will start 5 by 5 with a couple seconds apart to ensure social distancing throughout the race. In a couple minutes' time, thousands of people from all walks of life, like I said, will begin their 21-kilometer journey. And they'll share the road with some of the greatest athletes in the world. It's a day full of inspiration and determination, with the aim being for many to just get across that line. I'm Talha Duman, and I'm here to usher you through the next 21 kilometers. I'll be on hand to show you along the course through some of the most iconic settings in this beautiful city as we go across one of Istanbul's most beautiful sites and see what the city has to offer. Just a brief rundown of what you can expect over the course of the next, say, 2.5 hours. This is a World Athletics Gold Label road race, and it's been raced along these streets since the 80s. Today, we will see thousands of runners from more than 50 countries take part in this event. Now, due to COVID-19 restrictions, in the elite category, we have around 60 runners, but in total, we will have close to 2,500 runners. Now, as you can see, the course will go along the coast of the Marmara Sea. First, we'll see Hagia Sophia, we'll see the Topkapı Palace, and then from there, we take a right at the Spice Bazaar, go back from the Galata Tower, and go towards the, I believe, the Patriarchy of the Orthodox. Yes, we go there. Oh, there's the Golden Horn, as you can see. And then when we turn back, we'll see the Ecumenical Orthodox Patriarchy. Now, going back along, we'll see the Spice Bazaar once again, the Topkapı Palace, and again the Hagia Sophia. In all of these 21 kilometers, it will be a very fun and a very cool race to look forward to. And with Istanbul, there's never enough sights to see. As you can see, we'll see the Maiden Tower as well. But before that happens, as you can see in front, there are the elite runners getting ready for the race. Now, like I was mentioning, just a brief rundown of what you can expect over the course of the next 2.5 hours. This is a World Athletics Gold Label road race. Okay. And today, we'll see close to 60 elite athletes, about 35 in the men's, and more than 20 in the women's. As you can see right there, the locals are getting ready as well, stretching out their limbs, hoping to have enough patience to run for 21 kilometers. Now, with all of this happening, the streets of Istanbul will swell with 1,000 or more competing, and they'll be cheered on by thousands more along the streets. As you can see right there, that's Ruth Chepnegich of Kenya. Her best result was at the 2019 Istanbul Half Marathon with a 1 hour, 5 minute, and 30-second time. As you can see, the organizers are talking about the importance of this race and how many popular athletes turned up and how they're expecting to see a very exciting race today. Now, we would have hoped for a more sunny day.
Evet, bizler de İstanbul Büyükşehir Belediyesi Genel Sekreterimiz Can Akın Çağlar'a çok teşekkür ediyoruz ve artık start için hazırız. Çok büyük bir heyecan. Lütfen start noktasını boşaltalım. Basın mensuplarımız için 3 tane araç hazırladık. Startın ardından basın mensupları takip edebilecekler. Gözlerimiz artık start takibinde. Kolay İstanbul Yarı Maratonu 2021'in başlamasına artık saniyeler kaldı. Çok büyük bir heyecan. Dünya ve Avrupa şampiyonları burada. Hem kadınlarda hem erkeklerde elit atletler. Aynı zamanda Türkiye şampiyonları. Bütün dünyanın gözü Türkiye'de, İstanbul'da ve Kolay İstanbul Yarı Maratonu 2021'de.
The world of athletics is in Istanbul right now. The peak of competition, and it's about to start.
Bu yarı maratonu da çok önemli bir hale getiriyor. TRT Spor 2'den canlı olarak yayınlanacak. Sporcular son hazırlıklarını yapıyorlar. Müthiş bir konsantrasyon. 21 kilometrelik nefes kesici mücadelenin başlamasına çok az kaldı.
Everyone waiting.
Evet, geriye sayımı başlatıyoruz. 10,
here's the countdown.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And they're off. Elite runners have started the 21K race for the 16th edition of the Istanbul Half Marathon. Great footage from our broadcasters here from their drones. The Kolay İstanbul Half Marathon is off. Now, with elite runners, you could expect times under 1 hour. Yes, that's 1 hour. Now, let's go into a little bit about who's here and who will be the runners expected to win. Now, with the road racing calendar yet to return to full capacity this spring, due to COVID-19, any elite event still going forward is in a position to capitalize on top pros eager for competition, as you can see right here. That's exactly what's happening at the 16th edition of the Istanbul Half Marathon. Now, a little break from the rain here in Istanbul. Not the best conditions, but as you'll see in the next couple hours, the runners will be going through the best sites in one of the best countries, in one of the best cities in Europe. Now, there are mouth-watering matchups on hand in both the men's and women's races. And kudos to the Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality and Sports Istanbul for putting this thing together, as the fields are incredible. Initially, Kenyan stars Kibwa Kandi and Jeffrey Kamborar were supposed to square off at the Ras Al Khaimah Half Marathon in the United Arab Emirates on February 19th. That race was ultimately canceled, and you can probably guess why, because of COVID-19. But the Kandi Kamborar matchup is back on in Istanbul on this rainy Istanbul Sunday, as Kamborar will get the chance to take on the man who broke his half marathon world record in Valencia in December, in the dying days of 2020. Now, on the women's side, which we'll see in a little bit, as you can see right there, Ababel Yashane's 1 hour, 4 minute, and 31-second world record is in danger, no matter what the conditions are right now. Yashane isn't running here in Istanbul, but pretty much every other relevant women's half marathoner is. 2 of the medalists from October's World Half Marathon Champs are here, Germany's Melat Kajeta and Ethiopia's Elamzet Yehualev. Plus, marathon world record holder Bridget Koskei, marathon world champ Ruth Chepnegich, and the half marathon debut of 2-time 5,000 meters world champion Helen Obiri. As you can see, the conditions aren't necessarily the best. The roads because this is a road half marathon on asphalt, roads can be a little slippier. Not as slippery as for these runners in the early hours of the morning here, around 8 o'clock, 15 past 8. We had roller skaters go out and do their own 10K race. And in the first couple of minutes, you had people falling down, slipping, hurting themselves a little bit. But, you know, despite the runners having more control, obviously, they probably won't be going as fast due to the slippery road and the conditions. Now, on the men's side, let's look at the biggest names who will threaten to win the race. Now, the biggest question is, will Kamworor get his revenge? It was good to beat Jeffrey Kamworor in the 2010s. No one can doubt that. Bursting onto the scene with a win in the junior race at the World Cross Country Championships in 2011. Kamworor starred for much of the decade, racking up 2 senior World Cross Championships titles, 2 New York City Marathon titles, 3 World Half Marathon titles, and a 58-minute 1-second half marathon world record. He was the guy to beat for a very, very long time. No surprise in that. The 2020s, meanwhile, have not been as kind, unfortunately. First, the pandemic hit, which was unlucky for everyone. But in June last year, Kamworor was hit by a motorcycle, yes, by a motorcycle, while training. The same kinds of motorcycles you can see watching the runners right here. He sustained head and leg injuries that required surgery and crutches. The worst possible situation for a runner, obviously. That accident sidelined him for the fall season in the Northern Hemisphere, during which time he had to watch Uganda's Jacob Kiplimo take his World Half Marathon title, and Candy, the man he's racing today, yes, that's his countryman, Kiplimo Candy, take his world record with a stunning 57-minute, 32-second time in Valencia. That's almost a half minute, which is crazy. In fact, that race in Spain was so fast that Kamworor got bumped all the way down to number 5 on the all-time list. Maybe athletics are seeing a golden age in form, or technology, like the Nike Vaporfly shoes. You know, they might be having an effect finally. We'll just have to see how much that affects things today. Now, Kamworor finally returned with a win at the Kenyan Police Cross Country Champs on January 29th. That set the stage for the Kenyan Championships 2 weeks later, and a shot at revenge against Candy. Now, as you can remember, who upset Kamworor at the same race in 2020? If you're a big marathon fan or a half marathon fan. Instead, Kamworor dropped out on a muddy day in Nairobi. So the big question remains, can Kamworor, who's targeting the Olympic 10,000 meters race this year, get back to his best? Or has Candy usurped his crown as the man to beat in the half marathon? Me personally, I cannot wait to find out who comes out on top. Now let's look at our official times right now. Now the first kilometer split was at 2 minutes and 46 seconds. And now the split as the second kilometer split is at 5 minutes and 37 seconds. So between the first and second kilometer, the runners have gone just a bit slower. But we'll just have to wait and see who comes out on top. Now, as far as I can tell, currently we have Bernard Ngego in the front on the men's side. On the women's side, we can't really tell right now, but it's still the early stages of the race.
Start alısından geçiş yaparken çiftlerinizin ayakkabılarınıza takılı olduğundan emin olunuz.
Now let's talk a little bit about the women's side.
Çift geri kazanıp kutusuna koymanız önemli rica olunur.
Or no, let's go back to the men's side, because we do have a little bit of unfinished questions to answer here. Now, Kamworor finally returned with a win at the Kenyan Police Cross Country Champs. But as I've said before, we can't wait to find out who will go out on top. Now, Candy and Kamura are the undisputed big dogs in today's race, but there are a couple of other sub-59-minute men in the field. In Amdawork Walegan of Ethiopia, who has the track record here in Istanbul for the men's, and Stephen Kissa of Uganda. A time in the 58.50s isn't what it used to be now that the world record is a whopping 57 minutes and 32 seconds, but it's still very solid running. Let's make that known. Walegan in particular bears watching as he was third in the world half in October, 13 seconds ahead of 5K 10K world record holder Joshua Cheptegei. Kissa, who trains with Cheptegei in Kapchorwa in Uganda, was only 3 seconds back of Walegan in New Delhi a month later. So if we had to predict how things will turn out in the men's, it kind of feels sacrilegious to pick against Kamura, considering the degree to which he's dominated the half marathon. 6 wins in his last 7 races. Yes, 6 wins in his last 7 races. You did not hear that wrong. That includes 3 world titles. But the thing is, 4 of those wins came in 2014, 7 years ago. Can you believe that? 7 years ago. In the last 6 years, he's raced just 3 half marathons. And while they were all brilliant, you know, the 2016 World Half, 2018 World Half Championships, the 2019 Copenhagen World Record win that he had, he's yet to show he's back to form following his motorcycle accident last year. As you can see, we're going across one of the oldest parts of Istanbul. As you can see, the walls right there, dating back to Byzantium times, I believe. And despite today's race day, you can still see a little bit of traffic here and there. But don't worry, it's all race related, mostly. Now, if we continue on the men's side, Kibiwat Candy. What an incredible guy right now. He became the first man in history to break the 59-minute wall 4 times in 1 year, and that was in 2020. Going 58.58 at the Ras Al Khaimah, 58.38 at Prague, a 57.32 at Valencia. All 3 of these he won, by the way. He went second at the World Half Championships, going with a 58-minute, 54-second time, I believe. And it was a season for the ages. You know, he was also a respectable second at this year's Kenyan Cost Crunchy Champs, just 2 seconds behind winner Rogers Kwemoy. So I mean, you could say he's still in good form. Now, Kamura is only 28 years old and should have plenty of good years ahead of him if he can get back to full fitness. But Candy, who's a full 4 years younger, and for people who follow sports, know that is a very big difference. He's a more reliable option right now. So we'll go with him. That is our candidate to win. Now, as you can see, the women are lagging a bit behind the men. But it's still an exciting race. Back here at the start-finish line, you can still see people getting ready to start their 21K races. Meanwhile, the elite runners are already up in front. With 4 kilometers done and dusted, their time is at 11:17. As you can see on the screen right now, we're getting close to 12 minutes. And their lap times have been relatively similar. The first lap finishing in 2 minutes 46 seconds. The second lap finishing in 2 minutes 51 seconds. Third lap is 2 minutes 52 seconds. And the fourth that just ended right now was 2 minutes 48 seconds. Now, with these times, you can expect the projected pace to be, again, a sub 1 hour time with around 59 minutes and 32 seconds to be estimated. Now, here at the start-finish line, as you just saw, people were still getting their races on.
Sevgili koşucularımız, sevgili spor severler, pandemi dolayısıyla Türk Nasledi'de ödül alacak 3 kadın ve 3 erkek sporcumuz, genel klasman ödül alacak 3 kadın ve 3 erkek sporcumuz sahneli ödüllerini alırken yaş grubunda dereceye geçmiş
Now,
olan sporcularımız.
let's talk a little bit about the women's race. And the biggest question before this event was, will the world record go down? But now, as you can see with the conditions, it's looking a little tougher by the minute. Excuse me. And the reason is, as you can see, the rain. Now, the talent in this race, the reason why we asked, will the world record go down? It's because this race is somehow even better than the men's. You know, over there, we're expecting a Candy Kamworor kind of battle towards the end. But here on the women's, between Helen Obiri, Luth Chepingetich, and Bridget Koske, you have the planet's most dominant 5,000 half marathon and marathon runners meeting at a middle distance. Now, while the 21K is a crossover event for Obiri and Koske, at least right now, the half marathon belongs to Perez Jepchirchir. There's one thing though, she's not here this year. She pulled out at the last minute with a stomach issue, I believe. That was what we were told at least. Now, putting those names aside, we haven't even talked about the fastest half marathoner that is here in Istanbul on the women's side. And that would be world half bronze medalist Yalem Zerf Yehualov, who clocked the #2 time in history by running a 1 hour, 4 minute, and 46 seconds to win in New Delhi in November. Now, Koske is next with a 1 hour, 4 minute, 49 personal best from Raz Al Khameh last year, followed by Joan Chelimo Meli, Ruth Chepingetich, and world half silver medalist Melat Kejeta. That is some field, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as you can see on the right, there are some men tangled in with the women, with the elite women runners, but that only goes to show you how dominant they're set to be. Now, obviously, when you get a race with that many talented women, world record, as we said at the top, world record is the natural thought. But can we just appreciate this event for what it is? You know, a top-notch race. And like I said, we cannot thank the Istanbul municipality and Sports Istanbul for putting this together. Now, matchups like this, you know, pitting the best athletes from a variety of distances don't come around very often and won't be as common once track season begins this summer and marathons resume this fall. And no, I mean, there isn't a world title on the line or anything like that, but the battle for the win here is more compelling than a world record chase. Let me say that again. The win here is more compelling than a world record chase, especially given how common world records have become recently. You have all these talented women, and we're hoping a record will come across. Now, as you just saw right there, on the men's side, they're even running faster than the following cars, and the motorcycle, as you can see there, which is quite remarkable, really, in these kind of conditions. Now, the runners are going through the Galata Bridge, and let me give you a little info on the Galata Bridge. Now, in a city that's known for their bridges, especially the Bosphorus Bridge, now the July 15th Martyrs Bridge, the Galata Bridge was actually one of the most famous bridges back in the time in Istanbul. It right now, I think, is the 5th edition of the bridge. And in past times, this bridge was especially important for Istanbul. It bridged together the ruling side of Istanbul in the Ottoman Empire and the district of Galata, where a lot of non-Muslim citizens lived back in the day. And it's surprising to think that this bridge used to have a toll. Depending on who crossed, pedestrians or people with backpacks, horse carriages, or sheep, goats, and other animals used to have to pay money. Now, this 5th bridge was built by the Turkish construction company STFA just a few meters away from the previous pitch between Karaköy and Eminönü, and it was completed in 1994. Now, if we had to talk about the culture of the Galata Bridge, it was a symbolic link, like I said just now, between the traditional city of Istanbul proper, site of the imperial palace and principal religious and secular institutions of the Ottoman Empire, and the districts of Galata, Beyoğlu, Şişli, and Harbiye, where a large proportion of the inhabitants were non-Muslims, and where foreign merchants and diplomats lived and worked. Now, as you can see, there is the Galata Tower on your top left right there. If we can see it.
Sevgili sporcularımızdan iyilik peşinde koşmak üzere şu anda start alanından çıktılar. Başarılar diliyoruz.
As you can see, Bernardin Gego is going up in front in the men's. The men just a couple minutes ago did a U-turn at the Galata Tower, and from here they'll start their way back. So as you can see right now in the women's, Amanal Petros, Brigitte Koske, Yasemin Can, Ruth Çepingetic are up in front. And they're turning back from the Galata Tower right now. The first U-turn in the 21K race. Now, if we had to talk about the Galata Tower a little bit, it was made by the Genoese. You know, it was a medieval stone tower in the Galata Karaköy quarter of Istanbul, just to the north of the Golden Horn. As you can see right now, the men's did a right turn on the Golden Horn and are going towards the Golden Horn. As you can see, that is a metro bridge built a couple years ago. Another one of the signature bridges in Istanbul. Not quite Pittsburgh, you know, the city of bridges in the US, but we still have a fair amount of our big iconic bridges. There you have it. Other runners for the 21K. Now, we have to remember that the course is the same for everyone, but each journey to the finish line is unique to each and every participant. From the elite runners that are almost halfway right now to the runners at the start-finish line who have just gotten off to do their race. Different reasons for everyone to race. You know, there will certainly be a myriad of stories to tell afterwards, but they'll be, they'll be celebrated for their endeavors and the spectacle that I think we're all absorbed by every single year. Now, these runners have had their fair share of glory around the world, but some first-time runners are about to experience possibly the best moment of their lives, finishing a 21K race. It's incredible to think about that, you know, especially if you're a normal everyday person going to work, going home, and just doing that routine. 21K is an incredible journey. Obviously, when you're in that kind of mindset, you don't really realize how big it is. And it's probably the same for Bernardin Nego right now, up in front. Now let's talk a little bit about the race. Now this event, the Istanbul Half Marathon, was established in 1987 under the name Haliç Half Marathon, the Golden Horn Half Marathon to be more exact, and it continued to run until 1993. Now, it took a break for 17 years. It was revived back in 2010 under the name of the International Golden Horn Half Marathon. And there was quite a lot of participation with around 1,500 athletes from around 20 nations, 22 to be exact. Now, the organization of the half marathon took a 4-year break until 2015 when the Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality re-established the road running event under the name Istanbul Half Marathon. The first edition immediately attracted high-caliber elite runners, very similar to the ones we can see right now with the incredible drone footage the broadcast is providing. And that resulted in quick winning times of around 1 hour in the men's category and 1 hour 6 minutes in the women's race. Now, the event was organized by Istanbul Sports Events, the organizer of the long-running Istanbul Marathon event. The half marathon course begins and ends in Yenikapı this year, following a route south to the seafront area, which we're going through right now. As you can see on the left, you have the Golden Horn, one of the more popular places in the European side of Istanbul. And before this race started, there was actually a 10K run that was hosted for amateur runners. Now, the 2016 edition of this race gained a World Athletics Bronze Label status, and the field included world record breakers at the time, like Zersanay Tadese and Leonard Patrick Coman. That year, in 2016, the event was staged on the same weekend as the Presidential Cycling Tour of Turkey. So, as you can understand, sports in Turkey are very, very big. In a couple of months' time, actually, we're going to have one of the biggest football events in the world, the Champions League final at the Atatürk Olympic Stadium in towards the end of May. So sports in Istanbul are like peanut butter and jelly, you know? You can't replace it. It's the best thing ever. And every once in a while, we have big events like these. And because of the Istanbul Marathon's popularity, in December 2016, it was announced that the event was promoted to a World Athletics Gold Label status. And from 2017 on, that's been the same. Now let's look at the times right now. Now, the runners are close to the 9-kilometer mark, almost halfway there, and their lap times are getting a bit slower. For the males, their latest lap time for the 8-kilometer was 3 minutes and 11 seconds, with their total time being 23 minutes. Now let's talk a bit about the psychology behind marathons. Now, as you can see right now at the start-finish line, if my colleagues in the booth will show, we had a lot of 21K runners getting ready and cheering themselves on to start the race. The reason a lot of people are starting later, about 26 minutes later, is because of the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of rules have been set in place so people can run in a very healthy and safe way. One of those rules are 5 people at once, no more than 5 people, with close to 5-10 seconds in between each batch, so people can socially distance themselves from other racers, other runners. As you can see right there, the beautiful Istanbul skyline. Now that is the Ecumenical Orthodox Patriarchate. As you can see there, it is quite in the middle of Istanbul. Not a lot of people know that. You know, it's one of the 14 to 16 autocephalous churches that together compose the Eastern Orthodox Church, and it's headed by the Ecumenical Patriarchy of Istanbul. who's currently Bartholomew I, Archbishop of Istanbul. Now, right now, you see Bernard Kipkorir quite in front for the men's, racing his way. On the women's side, you still have a close pack, so who knows what will happen in the next half hour. But if we look at the times, because of the rain, the racers aren't going that fast. Their latest lap time was a 3 minute and 7 second time. Now let's talk a little bit about what a half marathon actually is. It's quite easy to say it's literally the half of a marathon, which is 42 kilometers. You know, quick maths, that's 21 kilometers for the half marathon. You know, it's common for a half marathon event to be held concurrently with a marathon or a 5K race, but for this one in Istanbul, it's a whole different event. You know, if finisher medals are awarded, the medal or ribbon may differ from those for the full marathon, as it obviously does for this race. The half marathon is also known as the 21K, although these values are rounded and not formally correct. So if we, again, do the maths, the half of what a marathon distance is 21.0975 kilometers. Does it really matter? No. In the end, everyone's running, everyone's trying to be patient, everyone's trying to forget their legs, their arms, their feet are hurting, and yeah, it's an event for everyone. As we said, in the men's, the world record is goes to Kibiwat Kandi, who's here in Istanbul, and for the women's, that's Bridget Koske, who's also in Istanbul. So that kind of shows you how big this Istanbul Half Marathon event is, especially in the kind of point of view of a pandemic. Now, last year, if you remember, the Formula One race in Turkey, the Turkish Grand Prix, had come back to Istanbul after almost a decade, and it was supposed to have fans, about 100,000 fans as well. And that was really, really exciting for not only people here in Istanbul, but for the drivers as well. But unfortunately, we didn't get to see that because of COVID-19. But good on the Istanbul municipality and Sports Istanbul to put on an event like this. Now, after 10 kilometers, as you can see, Kibiwat Kandi is going in first. Jeffrey Kamburar, his biggest rival, is in second. Amdawar Kwalanyen, who is a former winner, is third. Leonard Barsoton, Aras Kayas, and Stephen Kisa follow. As you can see right there, the runners were forced to go across a mat on the road, and that's because the runners have chips on their shirts, which can electronically tell the exact time they're going. And on the left right there, you saw a water stand. Now, it's very, very, very, very important to hydrate. It's actually one of the most important things to do in a half marathon or a marathon or any race, in fact. Now let's take a look at the times once again. With 10 kilometers gone, the pace is around 59 minutes and 56 seconds, the projected pace that the runners will finish. It's not a world record like we were talking about, you know, especially when there are elite runners in the run. But that's still something. Now we have the 11-kilometer times. The split is currently at 31 minutes and 19 seconds, with the most recent lap time being 2 minutes and 55 seconds. Maybe that kind of distraction to go on top of the blue mat may have had something to do with it. We don't know. And the projected pace is at 1 hour and 5 seconds. Like I said, not too fast, but it's still incredible to see these elite athletes compete with each other. Now let's talk a little bit about the race, just a bit more. On the right there, you can see the women passing our camera. And on the left, you still have Bernardinho trying to be the pacemaker of the race. Now, you could say, and this is not speculative at all, you could say with the strongest field ever assembled in the race's 16-year history, it would not be over-optimistic to expect that one or two records could tumble at the Kolay İstanbul Half Marathon. But, and this is a big but, the weather conditions aren't really helping that. Now, even though several other stars will line up on the day, the spotlight will be on the duel between the reigning World Half Marathon record holder, Kibiwot Kandi, and his predecessor, Jeffrey Kamworor. Having run under 59 minutes in his 3 outings over the distance earlier on in 2020, which is last year, Kandi ended the year on an even higher note by clocking a world record time of 57 minutes and 32 seconds, as I mentioned earlier, and that was in Valencia. Now, Kamworor, who set the previous record of 58 minutes and 1 second, that's almost 30 seconds slower, quick maths, in Copenhagen in September 2019, was out of action at the time as he was recovering from surgery after he was hit by a motorcycle in June last year. And that, for a runner, takes a big toll. You know, you're losing your ability to run, maybe train every day, which these runners absolutely do. Now, Kamworor returned to the course 2 months ago at the Kenya Police Service Championships, where he bagged his 8th successive title. Now, both Kenyans could run well under the race record of 59 minutes and 50 seconds, held by Amdework Walalane of Ethiopia, who's in the running. I believe he's around 6th right now. But as I've mentioned earlier, the projected time is about 1 hour right now, after the 12-kilometer mark. Now, Walalane, who won in Istanbul in 2018, is himself one of the contenders. The 22-year-old ranked the top Ethiopian when finishing 3rd in his then personal best of 59 minutes and 8 seconds at the World Athletics Half Marathon Championships last year. Walalane then improved his personal best to 58 minutes and 53 seconds in New Delhi, and that was in November. The Istanbul Half Marathon will be Walalane's first race since, and he'll be one of the favorites to step on the podium. But we still have about 20 or more minutes to see that. Now, another sub-59-minute runner on the start line was Stephen Kissa, who's also in the running. He's, I believe, in the top 10 right now. Now, the Ugandan had never run a half marathon until February 2020 of last year, when he made his debut in Barcelona with a time of 1 hour on the dot. Kissa crossed the finish line in 1 hour 34 seconds at the World Athletics Half Marathon Championships. He then went on to achieve a personal best in New Delhi, and that was with a 58-minute 56 time in what was only his 3rd appearance in the distance. Now, if you know athletics, you realize that runners get ready for races way ahead of time. They have to acclimatize to the weather. I'm sure these runners were well aware that it could rain, so they were very, very ready. So, you know, running only his 3rd half marathon, and now this is his 4th, I believe. No, this is his 3rd appearance. It's going to be tough for Stephen Kissa. Also, as you can see right there, we have the Golden Horn Bridge, one of the other iconic bridges on the Golden Horn. We're almost at the 40-minute mark. Now, these 3 bridges, the Galata Bridge, the Unkapanı Bridge, and the Haliç Bridge, used to be the 3 biggest bridges in Istanbul. Now, we have the Bosphorus Bridge, we have the Fatih Sultan Mehmet Bridge, and we have the 3rd bridge, as it's called. Now, if we had to get back to the runners, as you can see right there, they're going on a fairly normal pace, quick for this kind of condition. with rain and wind and a little bit cold. Now, hopes are high that the competition will result in world-breaking numbers. But as I've said in the top and many times after, the rain and wind and cold, I don't know if that'll happen today. The runners running in unison. Now, normally in marathons, you'd see runners going about in a very peloton-esque way with pace runners and all that. But because of the COVID-19 pandemic, you don't really see that in today's marathon. And while on the women's side, you see a couple of the men's paving the way for the women, kind of breaking the wind, being a little more aerodynamic for them on the right-hand side. And on the left-hand side, you can see the men's running through the streets of Istanbul. Now, for a city that has a 16 million population, these are scenes you do not see. Normally, these streets, these avenues, would be packed with cars, either trying to get home or work or to their local store. Now, let's talk a little bit about the women's side. Now, Kenya's Bridget Koskei, the marathon world record holder, will face Yalemzert Yehula of Ethiopia, the second fastest female half marathon runner in history. Koskei herself is the third athlete on the half marathon all-time list, so big names in Istanbul on Sunday. However, the 27-year-old holds the fastest time ever registered with a 1 hour, 4 minute, and 28-second time, but on a non-record eligible course at the Great North Run in 2019, which was a point-to-point race. Now, both Koskei and Yehula achieved their official personal bests in 2020, which were a 1 hour, 4 minute, 46-second time and a 1 hour and 4 minute, 49-second time, respectively. Marathon days, half marathon days in Istanbul are cherished a lot by Istanbulites. Now, this year, for the Istanbul Half Marathon, there was a cap at, I believe, around 4,000 runners for the whole event. That includes the 10K run, the roller skates run, and the 21K run. So, not a lot of people on the roads, but still enough to constitute a cool day in Istanbul. Normally, with the chance to walk on the streets that are normally filled with cars, Istanbulites would flood these kind of races, you know, for the Istanbul Marathon that happens in late 2020, later in the year. You see, you could have seen like a sea of people on the bridge, on the Bosphorus Bridge. Now, on the left-hand side, you have the Spice Bazaar right there. And in Turkish, it's actually called the Mısır Çarşısı, as you can see, which, if you translate it directly, it can translate as the Corn Pazar, but it's not. You can translate that as the Egyptian Bazaar. The reason is, when it was built or rebuilt, it was actually built with money that came from the state of Egypt in the Ottoman times. So that's why it's called the Mısır Çarşısı, which is the Egyptian Bazaar. But now, internationally, it's known more as the Spice Bazaar. And actually, the mosque you see there in the background, it's called the New Mosque. The first name of the Spice Bazaar back in Ottoman times was actually the New Bazaar, you know, in conjunction with the mosque right next to it. But now things are different, obviously. Spice Bazaar is more marketable, I guess, for people coming from abroad and wanting to buy every kind of spice they can think of. Now we're watching the women's side. Yes, that is the women's side, don't get fooled. The men running in front of them are part of the elite runners for the men, but they're running as pacemakers right now for the women. Now let's talk a little bit about half marathons and how to get ready for them. For someone who wants to run a half marathon like the Istanbul Half Marathon, you know, take off a bucket list item for themselves, running in a city as beautiful as Istanbul. Oh, now the runners, the men's side, are going past another blue mat, so we'll check the times. Right now, the men are on the 15th kilometer. They just finished their 15th kilometer, so getting very close to the 21st and the end, the finish. Their time right now is at 42:55 at the 15 kilometers. Their last kilometer time was at 2 minutes and 56 seconds, and they're projected to finish around 1 hour and 22 seconds. So, like I said, not exactly the world record time we were expecting, but it's still nonetheless really, really incredibly exciting to see elite athletes do their best in the streets of Istanbul. So let's get back to talking about half marathons. So drinking water or staying hydrated is extremely important. You need to drink before, during, and after you run to perform your best. Obviously, dehydration is a major problem, one that runners don't really realize until they're, you know, at the end or finished. So indeed, just 2% dehydration can slow you down. Having enough water is very, very important. It's especially important to stay on top of hydration during warm summer months, which we're not really going through right now. But, you know, when you sweat more, it's kind of a problem for runners. They don't get to have enough energy. They don't get to be their fastest, you know, so they should stay hydrated. With rainy weather like this, it's maybe less of a problem, but still very important. Now, while some experts recommend you to stay hydrated by simply drinking when thirsty, others suggest you develop a customized plan by performing a sweat test. And I'm sure all these elite runners have gone through that. You know, what is a sweat test? I'll explain after we look at the Topkapı Palace. Now, if you're wondering what this place is, if you do not live in Istanbul, the Topkapı Palace is a large museum now on the east of the Fatih district of Istanbul. In the 15th and 16th centuries, it served as the main residence and administrative headquarters of the Ottoman sultans. It was made by the conqueror, Sultan Mehmet II, in 1459, and it finished about 6 years after the conquest of Istanbul. 14 minutes to go until the hour mark, which is relatively the finish time of the race. It's projected to be. Now, on the right there, you saw a runner going for the water, and as explained just before, staying hydrated is key. Now, let's take a look at the splits, at the times. Currently, the runners are on their 17th kilometer, but on the 16th, they finished with a time of 45 minutes and 41 seconds, with a lap time of 2 minutes and 46 seconds. So if we had to make an educated guess, their finish time will be around 1 hour. So very close to the finish time. And you can see the runners are pacing themselves, trying to leave enough energy for the last stages of the race. Now, right now, they're on the return of the long straight. On the right, you can see the Marmara Sea. And if you look at the pack on the left, with the men, it will be an exciting finish. It's very interesting to see none of them are kind of leading the pack. So everyone's racing their own individual race without any help, without any, you know, distractions from the wind. No one heading up the wind, no one kind of helping the pack get through it, get through the rain. On the women's side, it's kind of the exact opposite. You have a couple men in the front paving the way. And that, without a doubt, makes the race a lot easier for the women. Right now, on the left right there, you can see Kibulot Kandi and Jeffrey Kamoror. Trying to finish the race on top. Now, if you're wondering how these athletes prepare for a half marathon or a marathon, the long run, usually on a Saturday or Sunday, for our case it's the Sunday, is arguably the most important part of any half marathon training plan. Now, everything you're doing earlier in the week, which could be speed work, cross training, hill repeats, they're designed to prepare you for a long run. So if you do those in a very planned fashion, you know, it's more than guaranteed that you could probably run a race like this. Now, if you can do those, choose a route similar to the race you'll be running. So for a race like this one, the Istanbul Half Marathon, runners would probably try to do a very flat run as much as possible, because right now we're at sea level, and the only time it deviated was that run up to Galata Tower where they returned. So not much of a tire both ways in total. You know, doing or training in an environment that's, you know, resembles your race, you know, that won't always be possible for elite runners like these. But if you're doing a destination race, which is a point-to-point race, you shouldn't necessarily hit the treadmill every single day, you know, even if it's raining. Pacing is another issue that these elite runners are obviously very aware of. The most common mistake for amateur runners that you can see on the right there is, you know, going out too fast, starting too fast, and then crashing and burning, not having enough energy left to finish the race. You know, if you've raced a couple of 5Ks, aim to run 3 to 4 minutes per mile slower on your long runs and on race day. So the biggest thing to remember is, as long as you can go up to a 21K time or 21K run, you'll be fine. And these runners, they do at least 4 to 5 races like these every year, and for each one they train like crazy. Now, as you can see right there, we're getting very close towards the finish. On the right-hand side, you have amateur runners who've just began their race. And on the left, you have the women's side who are trying to finish their race. They're about 10 to 15 minutes off. Let's take a look at the times right now. And having just finished the 18th kilometer, it looks like we're at a 51:20 time, and the pace for at least the men's will be around 1 hour and 10 seconds. Now, if we had to remember the world record time for the, not the world record time, I apologize, the track record time for the Istanbul Half Marathon, that is around 59 minutes and 50 seconds for the men's, 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 30 seconds for the women. Inching ever closer to the time. Now, one thing to remember about running marathons is realizing that medals do not matter as much as you think. What's important for especially the amateur runners on the right-hand side is just finishing the race. On the left-hand side, as you can see, but for both the men's and the women's, it's finishing for a personal best time. You know, they say it's the same for real life. You know, big moments like college graduations or job promotions, they feel great in the moment, but really they're just celebrations of all the work you put in behind the scenes. Those moments don't necessarily define you, but you know, they define how you live every day. And for running a marathon, even a half marathon, it's important to know that this isn't just about 21 kilometers. It's about all the preparation that went in beforehand. All the long hours, the days, the blisters on your feet, the sore thighs, legs, arms, the dehydration. When you cross the finish line, it's a culmination of passing all those obstacles. And the mindset right now of the runners is more often than not, you know, one step at a time, 1 kilometer at a time. During a half marathon, even these elite runners almost always hit a wall. You know, same goes in life. That report for work that you're so close to being done with, the last few pounds you have to lose, that project you promised your spouse would finish, I generally don't. It's tempting to give up on things that weigh you down, like agonizing pain in your feet right now that the runners are probably feeling. As you can see on the men's, you have Kibiwot Kandi going out in front. Behind him, oh, I apologize, that is Felix Kumatai. Felix Kumatai was the winner. He was the winner last year, I believe. I apologize, I have my notes all bunched up. We're getting ever so closer to the finish line. 5 minutes to go for this half marathon in Istanbul for the Kolay half marathon. Now, if we look at the times, we're a little more than 1 kilometer off the finish. For the 19 kilometers, the time was 54 minutes and 4 seconds. As you can see, the men are taking a little break for the cold, wind, and rain. And less than 1 kilometer to go. Very close to the finish line now, less than 5 minutes remaining for the finish of the men's, and close to around 8 to 9 minutes for the women's side. Now we're watching the men's. You have right there Kibiwot Kandi, the world record holder, up in front, and behind him, his arch rival, his nemesis, his countryman, Jeffrey Kamworor. It all depends on what they do here in the last kilometer. And there you have it, Kibiwot Kandi. Kibiwot Kandi in front, Jeffrey Kamworor, his arch rival, right behind him. Now let's remember, Kibiwot Kandi broke Kamworor's world record, half marathon world record, back in 2020 by almost 30 seconds. And right now he's leading the Kolay Istanbul half marathon with less than 1 kilometer to go.
heyecanla 15 kilometre geçirirken dünya rekoru gelecek mi diye heyecanlanmıştık. Ancak 57.32
Now, when you look at the time, it's not exactly the world record that Candy broke back in 2020, the late part of 2020, which was a 57:29 time, I believe. Let me just recheck that. A 57:32 time, yes. Now, they're going slower, mostly because of the cold weather, the conditions, the air, the rain, the wind. Not exactly ideal, but that doesn't stop this race from being a very competitive one. And there you have it, the last stretch. Candy Kibiwot of Kenya. Kibiwot Candy of Kenya. Cameroon needs a miracle. And once again, there you have it. Kibiwot Candy continues his agonizing pace for half marathons, beating his rival Jeffrey Kamworor. Incredible race from Jeffrey Kamworor as well, having suffered an accident last year after a motorcycle hit him. And this year he was right behind Jeffrey Kamworor, which is an incredible achievement. Kibiwot Candy finishing. Let's look at his time. He finished with a 59-minute, 32-second time, which is a track record for the Istanbul Half Marathon. He broke Ethiopia's Ahmedawar Gwalalin's record, which was 59 minutes and 50 seconds back in 2018. For the women's side, we are still on for a world record. If Vucepengetić can run a little faster, she can break her own record of 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 30 seconds. Now, with the absence of Perez Jepchirchir, if anyone was listening from the start, I had predicted that Ruth Chepengetić, who knew the way around this track in Istanbul, could win it all. And right now, she's set to win it for the 3rd time. But what we're looking for is whether if she can break her own track record. Ruth Chepengetić right there with the orange jersey. If she can run faster than 4 minutes, she will be breaking her own track record. Now, if you're asking what's going through a runner's mind right now, you know, everyone has watches, so she's probably thinking about breaking her own record, breaking her own personal best at this track. Now, one of the most amazing lessons that marathons teach us, or half marathons teach us, is that while pain comes and goes, like the pain Chepengetić is going through right now, her legs, her arms, her feet, the pride you experience from achieving such an accomplishment doesn't ever fade. And for runners like these, it's pride. It's the sense of doing the best that they can that keeps them going. You know, whether it be quitting a job and having to live on little money for a few months, like these runners have mostly done in the beginning of their careers to pursue their dreams, they're pushing their bodies to accomplish something that's very rare, finishing 21 Ks in record times, at least for this track. And sometimes, for beginners at least, you just have to take the leap. And that's even true for elite athletes like Chepengetić. Sometimes you just have to believe in yourself as much as you can. You have to push through the pain and discomfort and challenge yourself. As you can see, Çepengetic right now. Running her fastest. Now Çepengetic's record for this track, for the Istanbul Half Marathon, was at 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 30 seconds. And for this one here, for the 2021 edition, she has set a new track record. 1 hour, 4 minutes. That is a full 1 minute and 30 seconds faster than her previous record. That's three-time champion Ruth Çepengetic right there, the winner of the 2021 Istanbul Half Marathon. What a race, what a marathon, what a half marathon. What a run by Ruth Çepengetic. The Kenyan right now is on top of the world. She's on top of Istanbul. For this event, on the women's side especially, you do not have any other repeat champions. That goes for the men's side as well. And get this, it's Ruth Çepengetic's third time. It's her third win. Her first one coming in 2017, the second one coming in 2019, and now in 2020. If she could have raced for the 2021 edition, for the 2020 edition, I apologize, that was relatively cut short due to COVID-19 restrictions and didn't allow any international runners. This could have been her fourth. Incredible. Ruth Çepengetic, three-time winner of the Istanbul Half Marathon. Now her official time, as you can see right there, just as she was finishing, cheered on by the crowd, was a 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 1 second time. There you have it. Oh, that's incredible to see. And it's even more incredible to know that she won this event 2 times. And, you know, keeping that in mind, look how happy she is with her third win. Selfies taken, immortalizing this moment. She broke her track record. Historic day for Istanbul. For both the men's and the women's side, you had not world records, but track records. For the men's, you had Kolay Candy breaking the track record of 59 minutes and 50 seconds. He finished with a 58:30 something, I believe. And on the women's, Ruth Çepengetic, 2-time winner, now 3-time winner, who had broken the record back in 2019 with a 1 hour, 5 minute and 30-second time. Now she broke her record again. That's a 1 hour, 4 minute and 1 second time. And now they're going on to get their interviews done, post-race interviews, if you will. Incredible scenes here at Istanbul for the Kolay Istanbul Half Marathon. Now, despite both sides finishing relatively faster than expected, breaking track records, there's still quite a lot of elite runners still in the race. And quite a lot of officials at the start-finish line, quite a lot of fans at the start-finish line, volunteers, cheering them on, cheering everyone on for their success in finishing a half marathon, for running 21 kilometers. There you can see Ruth Chepngetich posing for post-race photographs. She's the winner with a track record time of 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 2 seconds, breaking her own record from 2019. Now we're still waiting for some of the elite runners to finish their races, along with amateurs. The dark blue mats you see right there on the ground, they're electric trackers, which give 100% correct times for each runner. Just to remind you, on the men's side, we had Kibiwot Kandi breaking the track record to win the 2021 Istanbul Half Marathon. And on the women's side, you had Ruth Chepngetich breaking her own record from 2019 to post a track best 1 hour, 4 minute, and 2 second time. And behind me right now, you can see them getting ready to do post-match, post-race interviews, along with Sports Istanbul director, Mr. Renay Öztürk. Renay owner, I apologize. A lot of interest here for Ruth Chepngetich, the now 3-time winner of the Istanbul Half Marathon. When asked, she probably says she sees Istanbul as a second home, having won here 3 times, having the track record here, posting it on 2 occasions. A big kudos to the Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality here in Istanbul and Sports Istanbul for organizing an event like this with big name stars like Ruth Chepngetich and Kibiwot Kandi. Now at the start-finish line, you can see more runners finishing their races. We're now at 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 14 seconds. Now let's talk a little bit about mental toughness. For 21 kilometers, you really need a lot of it, you know? The purpose of running a marathon is to accomplish something that not a lot of people can do. Now, what's very important is before you start running marathons or half marathons, it's important to process goals. You know, setting goals is a common strategy that are set in order to maintain motivation and desire to meet targets. So right now, the people you see on the screen, they're running their own races, you know? They're not competing against anyone. The guy in the Beşiktaş shirt isn't trying to beat the guy in the blue shirt. So everyone's running their own races. So that means everyone should set their own goals, you know? Half marathon running should be no different. Setting goals for process and performance are therefore essential. Too often, people can set goals that do not consider how to achieve the outcome. You can say you want to run a half marathon in under an hour, but that's not really realistic unless you're Ruth Chepngetich or Kibiwot Kandi. You know, this kind of goal isn't useful because if the runner realizes halfway that they're struggling to meet those goals, you know, it can be detrimental on both performance and mindset. You know, when you're at your 5K or 10K time and realize that you're actually at 45 minutes and have to finish the rest in like 15 minutes, that'll make you go crazy. That'll make you lose motivation and like stop stop running, which is not ideal at all. As you can see right there, Kibiwat Kandi finishing the race in track record time, right in front of his countryman and rival, Jeffrey Kamworor. Despite finishing second, Jeffrey Kamworor is probably very happy to be able to end his race like this, because last year he went through a horrific accident. As you can see right there in the Galata district, amateur runners are just turning around, going back on the Galata bridge. Red Bulls, water, energy drinks, everything's provided for the runners today. All within COVID-19 restrictions, obviously, keeping things clean and safe. So, like I was saying before, processing your goals, you know, giving yourself realistic goals, it's very important to be able to finish a race, you know. In some sense, races start before you even start them. So, and another thing is, the people right here, most people aren't really talking amongst themselves, so positive self-talk is equally as important as, say, processing goals. You know, performers within the half marathon time frame will experience an array of emotions. Like right here, you can see Kibiwat Kandi going through kind of an expectation to win. And so thoughts like those can cross the mind. It crosses the mind. It happens to every runner, from elite runners like Kandi right here to the amateur runners, to Ruth Chepingetich, as you can see right there. So to help support and facilitate the process of positive self-talk, you should be able to talk yourself into motivation. You should be able to motivate yourself in some sense. So positive self-talk replaces negative thinking, which is very prevalent in marathon running, half marathon running, long distance running. For example, saying I'm suffering and feeling like I won't compete is, you know, you can replace that with saying I'm going to complete this half marathon because I have trained hard, and I will feel much better on completion. You will feel pride and jump up and down like Richep and Getich did right there at the finish line. You know, positive self-talk enables the neural pathways to be exact and the brain to function with more positivity than with negative thinking. You can apply this to everyday life. In fact, negative thinking will impact on the neural pathways that confuse the brain and associates to creating anxiety that impairs performance. So just think about it. If the guy right there running a little bit funny on the right thinks about, you know, how he's running, oh, do I look awkward? Or the guy in the yellow shirt right there thinks about, oh, I won't finish it. Will I finish it? That's not a good mindset to have when running long distance events like these. And one thing to think about before races is imagery. Now, the use of imagery is an effective mental skill when used consistently and effectively. You know, picturing the finish line, picturing yourself finishing is very important. Now, imagery enables a marathon runner to set segmented targets to reach. What does that mean? For example, make pictures in your head that was you completing 3 miles or 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, and eventually 21 kilometers. Through imagery, a runner can identify positive images that would supplement an opportunity to complete the marathon. Now, examples of imagery in a race require the runner to visualize completing sections of the run and feeling positive. And for that, you kind of need to know where you're going. You need to know the track. You need to know the course. And, you know, as mental toughness contains elements of competition focus, imagery is a key skill that will enable runners to cope. Mentally tough performers have the pedigree to maintain consistent focus during a marathon. And so that's kind of what gets elite runners like Ruth Çepingetic and Kibuwat Kandi through the finish line. From start to finish, they probably always imagine, they visualize the finish line. They visualize, you know, running faster, running quicker than their rivals. I bet you Kibuwat Kandi visualized finishing in front of Jeffrey Kamurar. And I bet you Ruth Çepingetic visualized winning the Istanbul Half Marathon for a third time. And another thing to talk about is resilience. Now, given the nature of a half marathon and exposure to various elements like behavior, emotion, thoughts, environment, and weather, resilience is probably the most important thing. Like in the beginning of this broadcast, we talked about patience, and resilience is basically the same thing. Resilient runners are those that can cope with adversity and have a desire to complete the run. It's very similar to, you know, visualizing the finish line. If you can visualize it and you have the desire, that's already half the race done. Boom. The other half is training for it. So, you know, like all things in life, psychology plays a big part in this too. And resilience, you know, it's resilience is about knowing what to do and how to pace your run. These elite athletes, they train so much that they know at which points of the race, of the run, that they should, you know, push themselves or hold back a bit, or, you know, if there's like 2-3 kilometers left, they know how to handle their bodies, handle their feet, handle their hydration. And resilient performers, resilient runners can also complete the half marathon because they have the psychological ability to cope with both physical and mental fatigue. And mental fatigue is probably what these guys are going through right now. Now, a couple more things to take note of when running a half marathon. Nutrition plays a very big part in all of this. You know, they say you never want to try anything new on race day. Elite runners like Ruth Çepingetic and Kibuwat Kandi, they probably have their routine down to the T. You know, if you didn't use fueling during training, don't begin to use fuel on race day. That's probably what these runners have to think about. If you do not drink Red Bull, for instance, during race day or during training, you shouldn't do that either during race day. As you can see right there, the Galata Tower in the top left side of your screen. A little info about the Galata Tower, actually. The Romanesque style tower was built as the Tower of Christ, in fact, in 1348, during expansion of the Genoese colony in Istanbul, known as Constantinople back then. And when it was built in 1348, it was the tallest building. As you can see, people from all walks of life trying to complete a race. Everyone having a single goal, completing the race. Not being faster, not being slower than anyone else, but just completing the race. Now we're closely inching towards the 90-minute mark. Now, in the men's rankings, the final rankings, you can see Kandi Kibuwat finishing first with a track record of 59 minutes, 35 seconds. His arch rival and countryman, Kamurar Jeffrey, who also broke the track record, finishing with a 59 minute, 38 seconds. Ronsur Kipkoder, 59 minutes, 46 seconds. Former winner, Walalain Amdawark, 59 minutes, 48 seconds. And then you have your Turkish runner, Kaan Kigen Özbilen, finishing with a 1 hour, 2 minute, and 26 second mark. It's not exactly Kandi's world record run of 57 minutes and 32 seconds, or Kamurar Jeffrey's former world record of 58 minutes and 1 second, but it's still something. Still a great day for Istanbul. And on the women's side, Ruth Şepingetic has broken her own track record, winning the Istanbul Half Marathon for a third time. No one's even won it a second time. Now, Ruth Şepingetic's time is a 1 hour, 4 minute, and 2 seconds. Personal best for Istanbul. Yelemzar Yehualov also posted a track record, but not as fast as Ruth Şepingetic, a 1 hour, 4 minute, and 40-second time. Helen Obiri was a close third with a 1 hour, 4 minute, 51-second time. Joan Chelimo Meli, again, a very close time to Helen Obiri, a 1 hour, 5 minute, and 9-second time. And the top 5 is rounded out by Bridget Koske, 1 hour, 6 minute, and 1-second time. At the end, you have Yasemin Can finishing out the top 10 as the lone Turkish runner. People finishing their race at the finish line right here, inching closer to the 90-minute mark. As you can see right there, a lot of amateur runners still in the race. Trying to do what everyone's trying to do, finish the run, finish 21 Ks. Now, if you're thinking about what happens after running a long distance race like the Kolay İstanbul Half Marathon, you know, congrats, first of all. You finished your race. Now it's time to take care of yourself. You should have a foam roller, some Epsom salts, compression tights, a scheduled massage if you can afford it, celebratory time with family and friends, because you deserve it. You just ran 21 kilometers. And electrolyte drinks, something to pull your body back into shape after losing a lot of water. Now, an extra shirt in your bag to wear to the start is preferable, you know, just in case you have conditions like these here in Istanbul. Also, even if the conditions are kind of warmer than today, it's important to have more clothes on hand just in case you just sweat a ton, you know. And a lot of these people probably have the day off tomorrow because I can't imagine anyone going to work after running 21 kilometers. Now, for amateur runners like these people right here, you can see on your screen, one of the more important questions we get is, you know, how do people avoid injuring themselves? Because running 21 kilometers, especially in a place like Istanbul, where you don't really get the chance to run 21 kilometers, is really, really important. You know, committing to your training plan is the first step. But it's not more important than avoiding injury. Most injuries can be addressed quickly early on, but in order to do that, you need to be honest with yourself if something hurts, you know? That's what doctors say, at least. Ultimately, missing one workout won't ruin your race or your race preparations. What will be is being sidelined for quite a long time and not being able to train for a race like this. If you are sidelined, the most important thing is not during the race. What's going through the minds of these people right now is probably, you know, my legs, my legs, my legs, my feet, my arms. Every second is agonizing. But these people probably trained their way up to this point. As you can see, they're coming back. They're currently in the Golden Horn portion of the run, I believe. Now, before the race started, we asked a few runners on what kind of challenges they go through during the race. Some said, you know, getting athletes to think long-term is difficult in a society that presses instant gratification. So if you know the what's it called? The marshmallow experiment, where they put a kid in a room, leave them with a marshmallow, and tell them if they don't eat it, they get to have the second one. So most people are the kind of people that instantly eat the first marshmallow without, you know, waiting for the second. So, you know, instant gratification, if you're that kind of a person, running a marathon or a half marathon, it could be a big problem, being patient enough to be able to finish the 21 or 42 Ks. You know, distance running is simply not that kind of sport. If you're used to having instant gratification, you know, being patient and having long-term goals leads to long-term success. And, you know, they say that they'd rather have an athlete that sets lofty goals and lands one peg below than an athlete that aims for the middle and is happy succeeding all the time. So it's very important to set realistic goals and goals that will ultimately make you happy in the end. Now, another runner said they had 2 great years qualifying for the 2008 Olympic trials, but in their second race, they had a pretty traumatic accident, quite similar to the one Jeffrey Cameron went through last year. They said they landed in the water pit and broke their ankle and had to have a major surgery. You know, it took a while for them to learn not to walk again, but to, not to run again, I apologize, but to walk again. And a very long time to learn to run again. And they didn't know if they'd be able to run competitively again. You know, it took them quite a long time, a couple years, in fact, trying to get back to the sport. They did some cycling and pool running to try and keep up their fitness, but only time heals, and, you know, they were so glad to be back in it. And it all points back to being patient. If you're patient enough, you can come back from gruesome injuries like Jeffrey Cameron and finish second in the Istanbul Half Marathon. That's what he did after suffering that gruesome motorcycle accident last year. Now, Kibiwot Kandi is currently at the best form of his life. And you could say that's down to something called a running age. You know, from the time you start training somewhat seriously, generally you have about 10 to 14 years to see your best running. Now that's whether you start running at 30 or whether you start at 50. So the athletes who are really hitting it hard, like Kibiwot Kandi, Jeffrey Cameron, or even Ruth Chepngetich, you know, when they are a freshman or, you know, when they're younger, they do their best running when they're 24, 25, or 26. So it's very possible to say that Kibiwot Kandi has at least 5-6 years of top-notch running in his career left. Meanwhile, I don't know if you can say that about Jeffrey Cameron. You know, after suffering that accident last year, even coming back and finishing second in Istanbul is a big result for him. And who knows, you know, he was one of the most successful runners in the 2010s for more than a decade, for the better part of the decade, actually. And if he can come back and finish second in Istanbul like this, right behind one of the top runners in the world in Kibiwot Kandi, who knows where he can be with more rehab, with more training, with more, you know, getting back to form. So it's important to see where everyone's personal kind of targets take them. For Jeffrey Cameron, it was probably, you know, finish either close to Kibiwot Kandi or, you know, be faster than him. And he achieved his goals. The goal for the guy in the blue right there is running with his kid, and I hope he can finish it. And the baby's probably sleeping. Now, the most important thing to remember when wanting to run races like this, either being a marathoner or a half marathoner, you have to make sure you just don't run those kind of races. You know, to become a better half marathoner, you've got to work on economy and power. What that means is, you know, slowly going up to that pace, either it be a 3K or a 5K or a 10K. You know, you just have to learn how to pace yourself. You have to learn your body and how your body reacts to certain situations. And so starting little, like a 1K, going up to 3K, 5K, 10K, 15K, and then a 21K, and if possible, 42K, a full marathon. That's, you know, kind of better for your body and for your mindset, I guess, for your psychology. Right now, we see runners from all kind of different places in the world, even in Turkey, finish their races. Some people pacing themselves. Some people finishing on a sprint. And they're being cheered on by the volunteers here at Sports Istanbul. Now, in a little bit, we should be seeing the winners of the race getting handed their rewards. That'll obviously happen once the more major runners in this competition finish. We're currently past the 90-minute time, going on to a 1 hour, 35-minute duration for the race. As you can see, the weather is still a little bit rainy, a little bit cold, and just a little bit windy, but it does not matter. Everyone's goal for today is finishing the race as best as they can. Doesn't matter if they're in front of the old guy that's probably 65 years old or in front of the younger guy. Everyone's goal is the same: finishing on a high note, finishing the race, passing the finish line. You know, what's important to realize during races like these is that, you know, if you've trained for a half marathon, you know that there are going to be slumps along the way. No matter how good your training plan is or how strong of a runner you are, not every run will be a personal best, and that's the way it's supposed to be. That's how nature works. That's how science works. Unless you're unless you're an elite runner like Kibawat Kandi or Jeffrey Kamuro or Ruth Chepingetich or Yalam Zerfieulahev or Fatma Arık or Halil Yashin, you know, all these races, unless you're those guys, you're not always going to be faster and faster and faster and faster. In fact, today, Kibawat Kandi ran close to, I believe, 1 minute slower than his world record time. Or 2 minutes. Let me just quickly check that. Yeah, two minutes slower than his world record time. And how do you think that makes him feel? We saw how he celebrated at the finish line. So, like I said, it's, you know, not every run will be your personal best. And so the only important thing is try to finish, try to pass that finish line. You know, the same is true in life. You know, not every day is going to be your best. Some people have, you know, bad days. Like Monday, tomorrow will probably be a bad day for a lot of people, you know, the Monday blues. But there are plenty of ups and downs along the way. But without the downs, always remember, we do not appreciate the ups nearly as much. So this is sounding like a very self-help kind of broadcast. But if we're talking through how to get through a marathon, how to get through a half marathon, that's what people need to know. If you want to do this next year, when hopefully COVID-19 isn't a thing anymore, when we're, you know, going to bowling alleys and touching balls and whatever. Anyway, next year, when a lot of people compete in this race, in the Kolay İstanbul Half Marathon, they'll know what to expect, even getting ready, you know, for it. Now the beautiful Bosphorus in front of us right now, the statue of Mustafa Kemal Atatürk, founder of the Turkish Republic. And while some people are relishing the opportunity to run in Istanbul, in the streets of Istanbul, others are taking advantage of not a lot of people being outside. Now, we should note that there are restrictions in Istanbul, but some people are exempt. Some people who work in important areas, and so these people, and tourists, they could be tourists, so nothing to worry about. But even on a rainy day like this, the Bosphorus, Istanbul is beautiful. It's perfect. Now, if we can go back to the start-finish line, we'll see a lot of people still finishing their races. It's never enough to mention how beautiful the Bosphorus is, how beautiful Istanbul is, either it be in the winter or in, you know, the summer, or on a rainy, windy, a little cold day like this. It's the reward, really, coming to Istanbul, Turkey, racing, running through the streets of Istanbul, seeing the Turkish flag, seeing pictures of Atatürk throughout the city. And this is how the day started. The organizers beginning the roller skating portion of the race. Now, it was a little slippery in the beginning, but that didn't stop people from trying to have the best times of their lives. Now, because they were roller skating on asphalt, we did have a little bit of issues in the beginning. Not for these people, though. Those people were professionals. But as you can see, a little slippier than usual. And going downhill, that's especially a big problem. Not for pros like these. And then you had the 10K start. Socially distanced people starting 5 people a batch for every 5-10 seconds to ensure social distancing throughout the race. In what could be called a fun run for the people of Istanbul. Most of them finished by now. See, as you can see, people from all walks of life, all ages, quite a lot of nationalities running through the streets of Istanbul, an opportunity that you don't really get that much, only twice a year. One for the Istanbul Marathon and twice for the Istanbul Half Marathon. The roller skaters had their day. Even more 10K runners had their day as well. This was around 8:30 in the morning. So, you know, an early wake up for most people, but an early end as well. You had people from all kind of different foundations running for their own causes. Some people running for, you know, just the sense, just to have that kind of pride of finishing a 21K race. And it's the same for the roller skaters as well. Supergirl, Batgirl right there. We're also roller skating. Like you said, people from all walks of life, all different age groups, suffering through the agonizing 21 kilometers. Even if you're on roller skates, it's pretty tiring, as the people right there would have told you. Now, see, there you go. You know, the important thing is to always celebrate your accomplishment. You know, the victory may not be winning the race. It may not be being Candy or Ruth Chepingetich. It might be simply making it to the finish line. You know, whatever your win is, whatever reason you're running for, either it be to go with a dog through the finish line, being accompanied, drinking your own water like this, you know, being well prepared, you know, you quickly learn that if you don't take the time to celebrate and relish the moment of finishing your race, either it be 10K or 21K, you know, if you don't, that moment is gone. You know, friends and family might be proud of you for your marathon finish time or your half marathon finish time or your 10K finish time, the same way they're excited when you get a promotion at work. But if you're not proud of yourself and taking a pause to enjoy every moment of your own personal victory before moving on to the next thing, you know, listing ways you can improve or what you did wrong, you're missing the point. Life is too short to miss a celebration. And here, before the 21K started, Sports Istanbul had people kind of stretching out their limbs, getting ready for the big race in the morning by a physical trainer to ensure that they have a healthy start to the Kolay İstanbul Half Marathon. Here you can see international athletes, the elite runners getting ready for the race right before the run started. Meanwhile, you had people finishing their 10K races. One of the most important things before a 21K run or a 42K run, a marathon, is putting your body through similar conditions, getting it ready for the most, you know, hard time of your life, probably. Supergirl got there eventually. Some people had to help each other. There you can see we're seeing impaired people helping each other run across the course. And then you had the big race, the 21K, the Kolay İstanbul Half Marathon. Mr. Granay Onur, the director of Sports Istanbul, in front, waiting to start the race, counting it down, and there you had it. The elite athletes close to 40 or 50, starting the 16th edition of the Istanbul Half Marathon. Runners were required to start with a mask, and then they quickly disposed of them after a little bit, just to ensure people don't, you know, catch anything they shouldn't. On the men's side, Kibot Kandi wasn't necessarily the front runner throughout the race, but, you know, he was the guy who paced himself in the best way possible. On the women's side, you had Ruth Chepingetich pulling along the way. As you can see right there, the runner with the orange shirt on the right was up in front until the last moment. Going through beautiful sights of Istanbul throughout the 1 hour race. Bernardinegro for the men paced the way a little bit, kind of running as a unofficial pacemaker. There you have the Galata Bridge. And the peloton of the men. Now this was one of the places that they made a 180 on the track There it is. There you have Ruth Shepingetich on the left. Now, after doing a U-turn on the Galata Bridge, they turn right. And we're set to do another U-turn. Again, Bernard Nego up in front, paving the way. He would soon fizzle out, but doesn't matter. And there you have the amateur runners throughout the day doing their best to finish the race. Everyone had their goals, and everyone's goal was very similar: starting and finishing. For the men's side, it was a very close pack for most of the race. You had people like Kibiwot Kandi, Jeffrey Kamoror, Amdawar Kwalanin, Stephen Kusa, Halil Yashin among the pack. And right there, going through the Ecumenical Patriarchate of Constantinople. Beautiful sights at every turn, every twist of the track. Now, at the start of the race, at the start of this kind of rainy and windy Sunday, people were expecting world records because on both sides, you had runners that were very capable of this. Kibiwot Kandi, the half marathon world record holder, Jeffrey Kamoror, the previous holder. And on the women's side, you had Bridget Koske, Yasemin Can, Ruth Shepingetich, Yalam Zarf Yehulau. But the conditions did not let that happen, unfortunately. What we got instead was a very competitive race on both the men's and the women's side. Like I said, each twist and turn being a beautiful sight in Istanbul certainly helps for the runners to kind of, take the race step by step. On the left there, on the far left, you have Kibiwot Kandi pacing himself. You know, you could have said that each one of those 7 runners could have won the race, but it went down to just 2 people at the end after passing the Spice Bazaar. On the right-hand side, you can see amateur runners just about getting to the halfway point. And then on the left, and here you can see the men trying to separate themselves. You have Kibiwot Kandi in the left middle right there, and his countryman, Jeffrey Kamoror, right beside him. On the women's, you have Ruth Shepingetich right there in the orange shirt, trying to establish herself as the pacemaker of the race. Going past the Topkapı Palace, Istanbul is one of those races where at every turn you have history, at every turn you have beauty, at every turn you have the sea, you have the Bosphorus, you have Istanbul in its greatest form, even if it's rainy. On the left right there, you still see 7 men vying for leadership in the race. But like we mentioned before, at the top of the race, at the top of the run, of the 21K run, it's important to pace yourself. It's important to be patient. It's important to leave enough energy to be able to go that extra mile. Right here, Ruth Shepingetich was going the extra mile on the women's side. And her opponents were dragging behind, forced by the conditions to go a little slower than they'd hoped for. Now, on the men's side, you see the 7 runners became 6, and slowly that'll become 2. It was a matchup between Kibiwot Kandi and Jeffrey Kamoror, even if it looked like 7 runners were in it throughout the race. On the right-hand side, you have Ruth Shepingetich, the Kenyan, running for a 3rd win at the Istanbul Half Marathon. And towards the end, towards the last 2 kilometers, Kibiwot Kandi showed why he's the record holder, showed why he's the fastest man in this event. Jeffrey Kamor, after suffering a crash in 2020, is still far from fitness, but he showed that he's still a force to be reckoned with.
Şu anda start hattının tam karşısından geçiyor. Kibiwot Kandi.
And here it was. Contenders being separated from pretenders. Kibiwot Kandi winning the 2021 Istanbul Half Marathon with a record time. And the same happened on the women's side with Ruth Çepingetic. This year's slogan, as you can see right there, was Harekete geç, which in English means get moving. And this is what the runners did this year. Even if we didn't have world records like we expected in the week following, we had track records and one of the best athletes in the world, Kibiwot Kandi, winning the men's side, and Ruth Çepingetic further dominating Istanbul with a third win at the Kolay İstanbul Half Marathon. And right now we're going to have our award ceremony.
Kolay nakit para ödülü ve 1500 lira değerindeki Orkamp hediye çeki olacak. İkinci ve üçüncülerde 8 ve 4000 lirayken Kolay nakit para ödülü, Orkamp'ın hediye çeki ise 1000 ve 500 olarak gerçekleşecek. Ve genel klasmanda kadın ve erkek ödülleri birinci $7.500 alırken ikinci $5.000, üçüncü ise $4.000 alacak ve bir dünya rekoru kırıldığı için de dünya rekoru kıran kadın sporcuya da ayrıca $10.000 hediye edilecek. Ve 21K Türk Master Atletler tasnifinde yaş gruplarımızı yine biliyorsunuz. Bunlara da ödüllerini arkadaşlarımız kargo yoluyla iletecekler. Ve artık büyük heyecan başladı. Sahne önüne doğru davet ediyoruz değerli izleyicilerimizi, spor severleri.
Now the winner for each side, that's Kibiwot Kandi and Ruth Çepingetic, will be awarded $7,500 for winning the race. On top of that, Ruth Çepingetic gets $10,000 more for making a world record, for running a world record on the women's side. Now the previous record was a 1 hour, 4 minute, 31 second time by Ababel Yaşine, but Ruth Çepingetic ran faster, a 1 hour, 4 minute and 2 second time. A world record here in Istanbul. The men's side didn't necessarily have that, with world record holder Kibiwot Kandi running close to 2 minutes slower than his world record time, but Ruth Çepingetic did the unthinkable. Not only breaking the track record here at Istanbul, but running the fastest time in the world by a woman in a half marathon. Close to 30 seconds faster, in fact.
Evet, rüzgarlı ve yağmurlu bir havada.
As you can see, the conditions kind of show on the stage too. It's a very windy, very rainy day in Istanbul. And despite that fact, Ruth Çepingetic broke the world record. Now right now, awards are being given out to the fastest Turkish runners. On the women's side, Yasemin Can Arslan grabs that.
Evet, sporcularımızın sahneye gelmesi için lütfen giriş kısmını açalım, rica edelim. Evet, Türk sporcu tasnifi Kolay özel ödüllerinin birincisini de anons ediyoruz. 1:08:32 ile Yasemin Can oluyor.
With a 1 hour, 8 minute and 8 second time, I believe, Yasemin Arslan got first place for Turkish athletes.
İkincilik kürsüsünde yine bir Yasemin Can, ancak Yasemin Can Arslan. Hemen alabilir miyiz lütfen arkadaşlar? Ve üçüncü sporcumuz Büşra Nur Koku. yerlerini alıyorlar ve kendilerine ödüllerini vermek üzere Aktifbank Genel Müdürümüz Sayın Ayşegül Adaca'yı sahneye davet etmek istiyoruz. Buyurunuz Sayın Adaca. Yine yeni normallerimiz pandemi koşulları sebebiyle ödüllerimizi görevli arkadaşlarımız
First place
getiriyorlar.
Turkish athlete was Yasemin Can,
sporcularımıza verecekler.
as you can see right there.
Ayşegül Hanım da sporcularımızın yanında bu gurur tablosunda fotoğraf verecek basın mensuplarına. Üçüncüden başladık. 4000 Türk Lirası değerindeki Ne Kolay özel ödülünü ve üçüncülük kupasını alıyor sporcumuz. Sevgili Büşra Nurkoku'yu bir kez daha
Now
kutluyoruz.
don't let the crowd fool you because of COVID-19 restrictions. Only around 4,000 runners were allowed at this race. Some of that for the 10K race, some of that for the rollerblades, and some for the 21K race. And because of COVID-19 restrictions, not a lot of fans were allowed. Only the close friends or relatives of the runners.
8.000 Türk Lirası değerindeki Ne Kolay özel ödülünü ve kupasını aldı. Ve şimdi Ayşegül Hanım sizi birinci
Yasemin Can Arslan with the 8,000 liras, Turkish liras award for being second. And then Yasemin Can with a 1 hour, 8 minute and 32 second time. She becomes the fastest Turkish runner and is awarded 15,000 Turkish liras.
Sizi ben sahnenin yanına davet edeyim Ayşegül Hanım. Evet, Türk tasnifi kadınlarda Orkamp özel ödüllerini de sporcularımıza teslim edelim.
They were also awarded a special award.
Çok teşekkür ediyoruz kadın sporcularımıza. Ne Kolay özel ödülleri erkek sporcularımızla devam edecek. Ayşegül Hanım bizle birlikte
Now,
kalınız
on to
lütfen.
the men's
Buraya
side.
gelebilirsiniz efendim. Çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Sizleri yerlerinize alalım. Üşütmeyelim daha fazla. Ve Ne Kolay özel ödüllerinde Türk sporcu tasnifi erkekler kategorisinde 3. olan sporcumuz Halil Yaşin 1.03.46 alkışlarla podyuma davet ediyoruz.
On the men's side, third place goes to Halil Yashin.
Ne Kolay
For the
özel
Turkish
ödülleri
runners.
Türk sporcu tasnifi erkekler ikincisi 1.03.36 ile Aras Kaya oluyor. Ve bu kategorinin birincisi
Araskaya is second
var arada.
in the Turkish runners.
Kaan Kigen Özbilen. Podyuma alabiliriz sizleri. Buyurun. Evet. Aktifbank Genel Müdürü Ayşegül Adaca'yı bir kez daha davet edeceğiz ödül takdimi için. Bir kez daha hoş geldiniz efendim. Üçüncüden başlayarak
And first place in the Turkish side on the men's goes to Kaan Kigen Özbilen. First, second, and third names for Turkey. 4,000 for the third place.
Sayın Ayşegül Adaca da Ne Kolay İstanbul Yarı Maratonu'nda özel ödül alan sporcularımıza ödüllerinin takdiminde o da yer alarak sahnede bu anı ölümsüzleştiriyor.
8,000 for Araskaya.
Evet, Ayşegül Hanım, şimdi sizi ikincimizin yanına davet ediyoruz. Evet, birincinin ödülünü de teslim edelim.
And a whopping 15,000 Turkish liras going to Kaan Kigen Özbilen.
Ve şimdi ortaya alalım Ayşegül Hanım sizi. Çok teşekkür ediyoruz anlayışınız için. Evet, Ne Kolay özel ödüllerinin yanı sıra bu kategoride yine Orkamp ödüllerini sevgili atletlerimize vereceğiz. Onları getirelim arkadaşlar şimdi. Birinci, ikinci ve üçüncünün Türk tasnifi erkekler Orkamp özel ödüllerini takdim ediyoruz. Çok teşekkürler. Ayşegül Hanım sizlere de teşekkürlerimizi sunuyoruz efendim. Evet hanımefendiler, beyefendiler. Yarı maraton genel klasman kadınlar ödülüyle
Now we have the
edeceğiz.
general classification
Ladies and
awards for the
gentlemen.
women's side.
Ne Kolay İstanbul Half Marathon Women category all around. Third place kadınlar üçüncüsü Helen Obiri geliyor. Miss Helen Obiri from Kenya.
And Kenya's Helen Obiri finished third in the general classification.
1.04.51. Kadınlar ikincisi. Second place. Miss Yalemzere Yehualov.
Second
from
place
Ethiopia.
finisher being Yalemzere Yehualov of
Ve
Ethiopia.
kadınlar birincisi. Aynı zamanda dünya rekortmeni. Ladies and gentlemen, new world records. First place, Miss Ruth
And there you have
from
it.
Kenya.
Ruth Chepngetich, the three-time Istanbul Half Marathon winner, did it by breaking the world record
Dünya rekoru
with a
geliyor.
1 hour,
42
4
maraton,
minutes, and 2
16
second time,
maratonun ardından
smashing
bir
the
dünya
30 seconds,
rekoruna tanık olduk.
smashing the previous record by 30 seconds. And she did it here in Istanbul. The three-time winner broke her own track record here in Istanbul as well. Not to mention she has the world record. Just what we were expecting, just what we were hoping for in the
Yine
beginning of the race.
arkadaşlarımız ödülü lütfen getirelim arkadaşlar. Yanında duruyoruz Erdem Bey. Basın mensupları fotoğraf alırken teşekkür ediyoruz. Second place kadınlar ikincisi Yalemzere Yehualov'un ödülünü İstanbul Büyükşehir Belediyesi Gençlik ve Spor Müdürümüz Sayın İlker Öztürk Beyefendiden vermelerini rica edeceğiz.
Let's
Buyursunlar
repeat
efendim.
that line again. First place is obviously the world record breaker, Ruth Chepngetich. Second place, Yalemzere Yehualov. And third place, Helen Obiri. Now, with the absence
Evet,
of
üçüncü 4.000, ikinci 5.000
Perez
dolar
Chepchir,
para ödülünü
we
alıyor.
were expecting
Kolay
Ruth
İstanbul Yarı
Chepngetich to win,
Maratonu'nda İlker Bey'e çok
but
teşekkür
given the
ediyoruz.
conditions here in
Ve
Istanbul,
hanımlar,
the
beyler,
rain, the wind,
kadınlar
the kind of
birincisi
cold
genel
weather,
klasmanda
we were not expecting
category.
a world record.
All around first place Miss Ruth Chepngetich ve ödülünü Türkiye Atletizm Federasyonu Başkanımız Sayın Fatih Çintımar verecek.
And
Buyurunuz
because she
Sayın
won the race,
Çintımar.
Ruth Chepngetich is $7,500 richer. And because she broke the world record, add another $10,000 to that.
Büyük gururu hep birlikte yaşıyoruz. Lütfen çok büyük coşkulu alkışlar. Dünya rekoruna tanık olduk. 04.04.2021 4 Nisan tarihe bir not
We
olarak düşürüyor.
witnessed
Ve
history
burada
today
canlı
with a 1
gözlerimizle
hour,
bir
4
dünya
minute,
rekoruna
and
tanık
2
olduk.
second time.
Çok büyük bir gurur
Ruth
ve coşku.
Chepngetich is not only the winner in Istanbul, but also the fastest woman in a half marathon setting.
Genel klasmanda bir dünya rekoru kırıldığı için kadınlarda
And so that's $10,000 more because she broke the world record. The 4th of April is a historic day for
Tebrik
Istanbul
ediyoruz.
for the Kolay İstanbul Half Marathon. As you can see, they're now immortalizing the moment.
Evet, bu coşkulu gurur tablosunda tarihe not düşülüyor. Bir dünya rekoru kadınlar genel
History was
klasmanda.
made today on the women's side in the half marathon. Ruth Chepngetich broke the world record.
Evet, görüntü aldık.
Something we
Basın
won't be
mensupları
forgetting for
arka
a very long time.
görüntü alıyorlar.
To put this in
Çok
perspective,
soğuk rüzgar var.
the men's
Sporcularımızı
side
ve değerli
were
yöneticilerimizi ışıklayalım.
about 2 minutes slower
Evet,
than
maskemizi çıkardık.
Kibawot Candy's world record time.
Çok
But
teşekkür
on the
ediyoruz
women's
İlker
side,
Bey. Sporcularımıza çok
Ruth
teşekkür ediyoruz.
Chepngetich
Sayın Aslanoğlu,
broke the world
Sayın
record by a
Çintimer, çok
whopping
teşekkür
30
ediyoruz.
seconds.
Ve yarı maraton
History
genel klasman
in
erkekler
Istanbul was
kategorisi.
made, making April 4th an incredible moment not only for world athletics, but also for Istanbul.
Ve yarı maraton genel klasman erkekler üçüncüsü. Ladies and gentlemen, Kolay İstanbul Half Marathon
And now
all around
to the men's.
men category. Third place, Mr. Ronger Kirkori from Kenya. 59.45 ile üçüncü oldu. Kirkori, tebrik ediyoruz. İkinci olan sporcu, genel klasman ikincisi, men category.
On the men's side, you
Men
have third
category.
place, bronzer Kip Courier from
All around
Kenya.
second place, 59-38'lik derecesiyle Kamboror Jeffrey Kamboror rövanşı almayı çok istiyordu.
On the men's side,
Aralık
you
ayında
have
vatandaşı
Jeffrey Kamboror,
elinden rekoru almıştı. Burada
who used to be the world record holder until December of 2020. But a big win today for Jeffrey Kamboror as well, after suffering a horrific motorcycle crash while training. Kamboror came back to be seconds away from Kibiwot Kandi.
Mr. Kibiwot Kandi from Kenyan.
The Kenyan also breaking a track record here in Istanbul today.
Üçüncü sporcumuzun ödülünü vermek üzere İstanbul
Beating the
Gençlik ve
previous
Spor İl
time
Müdürlüğü
by
Müdür Yardımcısı
around,
Sayın Göksun Öz'ü davet etmek istiyoruz. Sayın Öz,
I believe,
buyurunuz
25
lütfen.
seconds.
Ödülü görevli arkadaşlarımız teslim ediyor. Sayın Öz, sizi de yanına davet ediyoruz sporcumuzun. Ve erkekler ikincisi ödülünü takdim etmek üzere Spor İstanbul Genel Müdürümüz Sayın Denay Onur'u davet etmek istiyoruz efendim. Buyurunuz Sayın Onur.
Now people are still finishing their races at the start-finish line.
Ve birincinin ödülünü, parkur rekoru ve aynı zamanda dünya rekortmeni olan sporcumuzun ödülünü, Kibiwot Kandi'nin ödülünü vermek üzere İstanbul Büyükşehir Belediyesi Genel Sekreterimiz Sayın Can Akın Çağlar geliyorlar. Buyurunuz efendim.
And here, Can Akınçalar, the General Secretary of the Istanbul Municipality, will be giving Kibiwot Kandi his award for finishing first today. It's not only the world's best, but he's also $5,700 richer. Not necessarily the world record we expected from him, but seeing world-class runners here in Istanbul is more than enough for the Istanbul Half Marathon.
Bir de yaklaşalım şöyle. Evet, yine maskelerimizde bu gurur tablosunu basın mensupları görüntülüyorlar.
As you can see, they're immortalizing the moment.
Bir Avrupa şampiyonu Kolay İstanbul
Even if
Yarı Maratonu'nda
we didn't see a world record like on the women's side, it's still a historic moment. On the left, you see Kibiwot Kandi
Çok teşekkür
and Jeffrey
ediyoruz. Daha fazla
Kamboror.
üşütmeyelim sporcularımızı ve kıymetli yöneticilerimizi. Ve yarım maraton tekerlekli paten kadınlar kategorisinin birincisi Zerda Karaaslan'ı davet etmek istiyoruz. Sevgili Zerda Karaaslan ödülünü almak üzere geliyor. Evet, ödül törenimiz devam ediyor.
The award
Bu dev
ceremony
organizasyonun
continues.
gerçekleşmesinde bize en büyük desteği veren isim sponsorumuz Kolay'a, Aktif Bank'a teşekkürlerimizi bir kez daha iletmek istiyoruz. Aktif Bank Genel
We'd like to
Müdürümüz
thank
Sayın Ayşegül Adaca'ya
the main
teşekkürlerimizi bir kez
sponsor
daha
of
iletmek
this event,
istiyoruz. Sağ olunuz,
Kolay,
var
for
olunuz.
helping organize this event, along with the other brands you can see there in the background.
Geldiğinde güvenlik sebebiyle podyumun yanında yer almasını, eğer ayağında paten varsa
Now, we're about to see the award for the fastest time for the roller skaters.
Sayın Yasin Taş lütfen. Hoş geldiniz efendim. ...17-18 yaş kategorisinde ödülünü aldı sporcumuz. Tebrik ediyoruz. Yasin Bey, sizlere de teşekkür ediyoruz
Her
efendim.
category was the 17 to 18 age group. And now for the 17-18 age group for the men's in the rollerbladers.
İbrahim Arslan ve birinci Emirhan Özdemir, lütfen podyuma geliniz.
Whoa. Quite dangerous to do that on the podium. But after, you know, roller skating for more than 10 kilometers, he probably feels like he can do everything.
Takdimi için İstanbul Büyükşehir Belediyesi Spor Kulübü Genel Sekreterimiz Sayın Erdem Aslanoğlu bir kez daha podyuma davet etmek istiyoruz. Eğer yanımızdaysa, buradaysa. Evet, ödülleri takdim edelim arkadaşlar. Verelim arkadaşlarımıza.
Again, these were the top three in the 17 to 18 years old age group for rollerblading category.
Kolay İstanbul Yarı Maratonu'nun paten kategorisi 17-18'deki yaş kategorisindeki sporcularımızı bir kez daha kutluyoruz. Evet, fotoğraf çektiyse arkadaşlarımız.
Quite an accomplishment for anyone, even if it's on rollerblades.
19-29 yaş kadınlar kategorisinin üçüncüsüyle devam edelim. Ersen Çiçek üçüncü olurken Gülşah Kişioğlu ikinci, Yaren Piri birinci oluyor 19-29 yaş kategorisinde.
In the 19 to 21 years old age group, here are your winners.
Evet, Spor İstanbul Yönetim Kurulu üyemiz Sayın Kaan Akın, eğer bizlerle birlikteyse Sayın Akın'ı da sahneye davet edelim. Ödülleri takdim edelim lütfen.
Quite an achievement. Now their family and friends, as you can see on the bottom half of the screen, are immortalizing the moment. They'll never forget finishing this race, even if it's on rollerblades. Now on to the men's 19 to 29 years old age group.
Evet, 19-29 yaş erkeklerle devam edelim. Üçüncü Ali Yel olurken ikinci Abdülbaki Yetim ve birinci Sercan Erdoğan. Tebrik ediyoruz. Alkışlarla podyuma davet ediyoruz.
And again, here are your winners.
Sayın Serap Timur'u davet edeceğiz. Buyursunlar efendim. Sporcularımız podyuma geldikten sonra kupalarını verebiliriz arkadaşlar ve ödül çeklerini.
Now doing this 10K run on rollerblades is especially tough in these kind of conditions since it's rainy, a little more slippery. But they deserved it. They did their best to finish ahead of everyone. And it might not be the amount that Kibawat Kandi won or with Chipngetic, but it's still something, a big reward for finishing up front in their own age group.
Sayın Timur'a ve sporcularımıza çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Ve yarım maraton tekerlekli paten kadınlar 30 yaş üstü. Üçüncü şimdi gelecek. Sayın Timur, çok teşekkür ediyoruz efendim size de. Üçüncüsü 30 yaş üstü tekerlekli paten kadınlarda Şima Erdemir olurken ikinci Özge Özer ve birinci Esen Erdoğanlı oluyor. Sporcularımızı podyuma davet ediyoruz.
And while these awards are being given away, you still have a lot of people finishing their 21K races at the start-finish line today.
Evet, ödülleri takdim edelim arkadaşlar. Evet, bu kategoride mücadele eden sporcularımıza kahve.com'dan çok özel Dialetti, Bricca Moka Pop'la hediye ediliyor. Tebrik ediyoruz. Hediye çeklerini de kendilerine takdim ettik. Ve geçiyoruz yarım maraton tekerlekli paten erkekler 30 yaş üstü kategorisine. Çok teşekkürler arkadaşlar. Üçüncü Fatih Selçuk erkek. İkinci Bahadır Öz. Ve birinci Suat Kumaş oluyor.
And more awards are being given for the rollerbladers for the plus 29 age group.
Değerli sporcularımıza ödüllerini takdim etmek üzere İstanbul Büyükşehir Belediyesi Gençlik ve Spor Müdürümüz Sayın İlker Öztürk Beyefendi'yi bir kez daha davet ediyoruz. Kıymetli sporcularımıza ve İstanbul Büyükşehir Belediyesi Gençlik ve Spor Müdürümüz Sayın İlker Öztürk'e de çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Bizleri kırmadıkları için.
Doesn't matter if you're on wheels, an accomplishment is an accomplishment. Maybe not as much as running for 21 kilometers, but still it's worth something.
Şimdi Türkiye Yarı Maraton Şampiyonası'nda kadınlar kategorisinde ödül alacakları davet edeceğiz. Evet, Türkiye Yarı Maraton Şampiyonası kadınlar kategorisinde 3. olan Büşra Nur Koku'yu şimdi sahneye davet etmek istiyoruz. Podyumun 3. basamağında yer buluyor. Türkiye Yarı Maraton Şampiyonası kadınlar ikincisi Yasemin Can Arslan olurken Türkiye Yarı Maraton Şampiyonası kadınlar birincisi Yasemin Can oluyor. Sevgili sporcularımızı kutluyoruz. Kendilerine madalyalarını arkadaşlarımız iletecekler eğer ödül töreni için şu anda burada yoklarsa.
Now it's time to give out the medals for finishing the race. Turkey's top three, Büşra Nur Koku, Yasemin Can Arslan, and Yasemin Can are the three best women in the Turkish category for the 21K race.
Sporcularımız şu anda evet, sevgili Büşra Nur Koku geldi. Podyumun 3. basamağına davet ediyoruz sevgili Büşra'yı. Yasemin Can Arslan podyumun 2. basamağında yer bulurken sevgili Yasemin Can da Türkiye Yarı Maraton Şampiyonası kadınlar birincisi olarak adını yazdırıyor. Evet, Türkiye Yarı Maraton Şampiyonası kadınlar birincisini Yasemin Can'ı bekliyoruz. Evet, Yasemin Can şu anda burada yok. Bu sebeple Atletizm Federasyonu As Başkanımız Sayın Mustafa Yasin Taş'ı ve Federasyon Genel Sekreterimiz Sayın Halil Akkaş'ı da sahneye davet etmek istiyoruz efendim. Çok teşekkür ediyoruz değerli yöneticilerimize, Ve birazdan Türkiye Yarı Maraton Şampiyonası erkekler kategorisinde ilk üçü sahneye davet edeceğiz. Şu anda geldiklerini görüyoruz sporcularımızın. Türkiye Yarı Maraton Şampiyonası erkekler kategorisinin üçüncüsü 1.03.46'lık derecesiyle Halil Yaşin. Podyumun üçüncü basamağına davet ediyoruz Halil Yaşin'i.
Now here again we can see the Turkish best runners for the men's category being awarded their medals for the Istanbul Half Marathon.
Aras Kaya olurken Türkiye Yarı Maraton şampiyonu
Halil Yaşin was third. Second place goes to Aras Kaya. And first place goes to Kigen Özbilen.
Atletizm Federasyonu Başkanımız Sayın Fatih Çintımar'ı bir kez daha alkışlarla davet ediyorum.
After the award ceremonies, we'll go back to the highlights, highlighting today's action, and we'll finish up the day. Again, these are Halil Yaşin, Aras Kaya, and Kigen Özbilen, the three best Turkish runners for the Kolay İstanbul Half Marathon.
İsim sponsorumuza Kolay'a, Aktif Bank'a teşekkürlerimizi sunuyoruz. Spor İstanbul'a teşekkür ediyoruz. Ve bu organizasyonun gerçekleşmesinde bizlere destek olan kıymetli valiliğimize,
again immortalizing the moment, making it forever.
Başkanımız Ekrem İmamoğlu'na teşekkürlerimizi iletiyoruz. Evet, başta Kolay
we thank everyone from our main sponsor, Kolay, to all the sponsors, to all the brands you see back there. From the Mayor of Istanbul, Ekrem İmamoğlu, to Sports Istanbul Director, Renay Onur. Quite an event that was put together today. We had a world record breaker winning the men's race. An overall great competition.
Türkiye'nin outdoor ürünleri markası ve %100 yerli sermaye ile kurulmuş Orkamp'a teşekkür etmek istiyoruz. Ayrıca yarışı tamamlayan hem fizik hem de sanal koşucularımıza Orkamp %25 indirim çeki veriyor. Bunu da belirtelim.
Now, alongside the people here today finishing their 10K races or 21K races or even rollerblading along the way, there were also virtual runners that ran about the same kind of distance for the half marathon. They ran wherever they could throughout, either at home or around their homes, when there aren't restrictions. And that was how they competed today at the Istanbul Marathon, Istanbul Half Marathon. Sorry.
Ve Swiss Hotel The Bosporus basın toplantımıza ev sahipliği yaptı. Swiss Hotel fiziki koşuculara özel buz terapili Türk hamamında geçerli %25 indirim çeki verdi. Böylelikle bir büyük organizasyonun, tarihe not düşen organizasyonun sonuna geldik.
45 seconds time we'll have a recap of the day and we'll finish out how things happened here at the Istanbul Half Marathon.
Dünya rekoruna hep birlikte tanık olduk. Bir sonraki organizasyonda tekrar birlikte oluncaya dek lütfen
hopefully next year we'll see an even bigger event. Hoping that COVID-19 isn't a thing anymore.
İstanbul, yeniden görüşmek üzere.
And let's go to the highlights of the day.
Evet, Gazi Koşu grubu olarak sevgili Cemal tüm arkadaşlarına başarılar diliyormuş. Sahne.
The day started in a very unideal condition. People were expecting sunny skies like on Saturday, but on Sunday it was a little rainier than expected. There you had in the early hours of the morning, you had the roller skaters starting out. The roads were much slipperier than expected. Obviously, for pros like these guys, it didn't really matter. But for a little amateur roller skaters, it was tough to navigate through the wet roads of Istanbul. Start was a little bit tricky for the 10K runners as well, having to be socially distant because of the COVID-19 pandemic. People were eager to start, but could only do it 5 people at a time. The organizers started the race at around 8:30. People had to start with masks and be careful of running together in a pack because of the coronavirus. People from all walks of life were at the race here at the Istanbul Half Marathon, vying for one thing: finishing the race. Everyone had a similar goal: putting in their best time and getting across that finish line. Either it be a rollerblader like this or amateur runners for the 10K. It was a very clean run today. Everyone wore masks at the beginning, and they socially distanced as much as possible. As you can see here, everyone, either it being from different universities or different foundations, ran across the beautiful sights of Istanbul on empty roads that you never, ever get to see. You could say the rollerbladers had an easier time, but it doesn't really matter. Everyone is going through, or had gone through, agonizing pain. Doesn't matter if you're Batgirl or Supergirl. Doing a 21K or a 10K is probably the toughest thing you can go through. As you can see right here, it's tough either way. But there was one consolation. They had the Istanbul sight to see on every turn. Beautiful Istanbul sights, a beautiful twist and turn on every bit of the course. Doesn't matter if you're more than 65 years old, like this gentleman, or a youngster, like these people. Running a half marathon is incredible. Now, for some Istanbulites, it's the chance to go around the city, run with dogs, and just have the best time of your life. And obviously, don't forget to hydrate. For everyone, it was pretty much the same. Cold weather, rain, heavy winds. But running a marathon isn't about beating records. It isn't about passing the guy next to you. It isn't about finishing on a high. It's just about finishing. That's it. And for the people here, either it be the 10K or the 21K, the moment they passed the finish line was the moment they were all looking forward to when they started in the morning. But the real test came with the 21K race. Such a test that people have to get ready, stretch their limbs, kind of relax before the race, train, just do their last kind of adjustments. And a physical trainer helped them out, get ready just before the race. Obviously, the elite runners are on another level. They've been ready for weeks. They got ready for the track. And just before starting, you can see people still finishing their 10K runs. If you've never run long distance, these are the moments that you look forward to, finishing the race. And obviously you had people from all walks of life, like I said, even seeing impaired people ran the marathon.
Kolay İstanbul Yarı Maratonu'ndan tüm İstanbul'dan ve Türkiye'nin
And
her
now,
yerinden
as you can see right
bu
there,
maratona
around 10 o'clock in Turkey, 7 GMT in London, the elite athletes got ready for the 21K race to start. Now, at the beginning, on both the men's and the women's side, we had exciting names from Kibiwot Kandi to Jeffrey Kamwar to Ruth Chepingetic.
Ve elit atletler.
World records were on everyone's mind.
Atletizm Federasyonu Başkanımız Sayın Fatih Çintımaç, Spor İstanbul Genel Müdürü Sayın Renay Onur.
And at the beginning, you couldn't really see Kibiwot Kandi or Jeffrey Kamwar. Instead, Bernard Inego was in this beginning at the very start. And on the women's side, you had Ruth Chepingetic leading the pack. For the men's, the world record was at 57 minutes and 32 seconds, while on the women's side, it was 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 31 seconds. But due to rain and
Koşuyorlar. Başarılar diyoruz arkadaşlar. Takalım. Beşerli şekilde sosyal mesafe kurallarına göre startlanıyoruz. Lütfen öndeki boşlukları dolduralım arkadaşlar. Beşerli şekilde start alıyoruz. Şu ana kadar gelen sporcularımıza eşlik eden Spor İstanbul görevlileri kez daha teşekkür ediyoruz. Şimdi yeni grubu bekleyeceğiz. Arkadaşlarımız halen görevlerinin başında ve işte yeni grup şu an ya da görevleri teslim etmeyi unutmayınız.
Apologies for our technical mishaps. Now, we pick off the race on the men's side with Kibiwot Kandi racing in front. There on the left side, you have Bernard Indego kind of being the pacemaker, but you'll see that changed real quickly. On the women's side, the runner in the orange suit, that is Ruth Chepingetic, was in front all the way through. As you can see, she's checking her watch, trying to go for a world record. In the beginning, like we said, we didn't really expect anyone to break it today because of the rain and windy conditions. Not really ideal for a half marathon. But it was probably either the beautiful sights of Istanbul or the fact that she won here twice before that got Chepingetic way above the line. On the left, you can see the men were kind of in a pack, which you don't really see in other half marathons or marathons. In fact, 7 of those runners would go down to 1. But who was the question at this point of the race? As you can see on the left there, the Spice Bazaar with the new mosque. A very historic place in Istanbul, a place where a lot of foreign tourists come and kind of spend their money because of all the available spices at hand, and not to mention a lot of other kind of trinkets. Again, on the men's side, you had 7 runners with about 6-7 kilometers to go, all in the same group, kind of unseen in other marathons or half marathons. So it was anyone's game towards the end. On the women's side, as you can see right there with the orange shirt, Ruth Chepingetich was lagging behind quite a bit on the latter half of the race, but like I said, it was probably the fact that she knows this track, she knows this country, she knows this city. And the people all around her were egging her on, were cheering her on to go and win for a 3rd time. We were very excited to see whether or if that would happen at this point of the race. On the men's side, meanwhile, still the same thing, still 7 runners vying for top spot on the men's side. But as you can see, the marathon, the half marathon, the Kolay half marathon in Istanbul wasn't about being in front. It wasn't about staying, you know, it wasn't about being faster than anyone else. It was about pacing yourself. And Ruth Chepingetich showed that. Now, you know, she's neck and neck, but you'll see in the next couple of kilometers, her pace was going to be agonizingly quick. Now, the men's side, as you can see, 7 became 6, with Kibiwot Kandi showing his dominance, showing why he's the fastest man in this category of long-distance running. Right next to him, you had Jeffrey Kamor. Jeffrey Kamor having gone through an accident in June of 2020, a horrific motorcycle accident that left him with crutches for quite some time. But less than a year later, he's still putting up a fight against Kibiwot Kandi. Now, like I said in the beginning, at the top of the 21K race start, we were expecting world records to happen. But on the men's side, it wasn't really that realistic. Kibiwot Kandi's world record of 57 minutes and 32 seconds was kind of out of reach towards the end. But it didn't really matter. Kibiwot Kandi still provided a top-notch race and won the race with a record 59-minute, 33-second time. Right in front of Jeffrey Kamor, his countryman, the other best Kenyan runner. Not as fast as his world record, but still a track record in Istanbul for Kibiwot Kandi, which made him $7,500 richer today in Istanbul. Meanwhile, on the women's side, it was a sight to see. A world record of 1 minute, 1 hour, 4 minutes and 32 seconds was on the line. And you know what happened? Ruth Chepingetich smashed that record, winning the Istanbul half marathon by 30 seconds. A world record by Ruth Chepingetich. She is the fastest woman in this category. Not to mention, it was her 3rd win here in Istanbul at the Istanbul half marathon. She pushed herself so much, but it was worth it at the end. A world record from the Kenyan athlete. A big day here in Istanbul, an even bigger day for Ruth Chepingetich. The world record holder is now the fastest woman in the world in the half marathon category. Not to mention the fastest woman in Istanbul. It was her 3rd win, and many more will probably come. There you can see the top 3. Ruth Chepingetich, on top spot. A 3-time winner at the Istanbul Half Marathon, and a world record holder. The fastest woman in the half marathon category, Ruth Chepngetich. Now, she also was $7,500 more richer. And also, she was awarded another $10,000 for breaking the world record here in Istanbul.
Genel klasman ikincisi, men category. Men category, all around second place. 59-38'lik derecesiyle. Kamboror Jeffrey Kamboror rövanşı almayı çok istiyordu. Aralık ayında vatandaşı elinden rekoru almıştı.
Now, as you can see, Jeffrey Kamboror made a huge comeback after suffering that accident back in June.
Hanımefendiler, beyefendiler, parkur rekorunun sahibi ve Kolay İstanbul
But it
Yarı
wasn't
Maratonu'nun
enough against his
kazananı,
countryman, his
genel
arch
klasman
rival,
birincisi,
the man
all
who
around
broke his world
men
record,
category, first
Kibiwot
place.
Kandi.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kibiwot Kandi from Kenya. Üçüncü sporcumuzun ödülünü vermek üzere İstanbul Gençlik ve Spor İl Müdürlüğü Müdür Yardımcımız Sayın Göksun Öz'ü davet etmek istiyor.
And that was it here for Istanbul. It was a race to behold here. It was a race to behold here in Istanbul. It's what just about What a day here in Istanbul. What a day for the Istanbul Half Marathon. At the beginning, we had rainy and windy conditions. We thought a world record wouldn't happen. In the men's, it didn't. In the women's, she smashed it. Ruth Chepngetich smashed the world record by more than 30 seconds. And now, our sights are on the next time we get to see elite athletes here in Istanbul. That'll be in November for the Istanbul Marathon. And as always, thank you for watching. We'll leave you with this message. A half marathon is like a metaphor for life. If you have enough drive and guts to successfully cover a 21-kilometer race, you can accomplish anything in life. Identify your goals, put a plan of action into place, and get moving. There will be good days and there will be hard days, but you will always be moving in the right direction. You can do it. Kibiwot Kandi did it on the men's side, and Ruth Chepngetich did it on the women's side. Until next year, that's it. That's all from me, Talha Duman, and thanks for watching.
Ve start veriyoruz.
Türkiye Atletizm Federasyonu Başkanımız Sayın Fatih Çintımar da bu dev organizasyonun startında bizlerle birlikte ve böylelikle oldukça zorlu hava koşullarında net startını vereceğiz. Kolay İstanbul Yarı Maratonu 2021'de 10 hız start hakemlerimize bakıyoruz. İçin hazırız ve ondan geriye doğru saymaya başlıyoruz. Ve start veriyor. Ve güzel bir şekilde Kolay İstanbul